Chapter 2097. King Pan's City. Later on, this city was expanded, specifically building thousands of manors in the northern part of the city. There were even soldiers patrolling nearby. This region was a restricted area in Pan King City. No one was allowed to enter. Of course, no one would come here to cause trouble. Occasionally, someone would pass by, and they would look at him with reverence. Everyone in the Pan King City knew that the people living here were from the Lu family, the family of Lu Li, the savior of the divinity. Originally, when the Prince of Yin brought the Lu family over, he wanted to arrange for them to stay in the King of Yan City. That being said, there were too many powerful warriors in the King of Yin City. Princess of Yin was too enchanting. Jiang Qiling and the others felt there must be something going on between Ling Qingyin and Lu Li. In addition, the King of Yin had always been rumored to be in a bad state. Rumor had it that he had killed tens of thousands of his own clansmen. That was why he suggested staying in King Pan City. Pan Yuqin was gentle and elegant. Jiang Qiling, by Qiu Xue, and by Xia Shuang liked her more. Without so many powerful warriors living here, they felt less pressured. Ling Qingyin and Pan Yuqin respected the opinion of Lu Li's 3 wives. Therefore, they expanded the King Pan City and opened up a space for the Lu family. He had also provided a large amount of elixirs and secret manuals to the Lu family, allowing them to develop quickly. The Lu family had been developing fast. Within 10 years, there were nearly 100 people who had reached the immortal realm. Jiang Qiling, patriarch of law enforcement, Lu Jingyang, Lu Renhuang, Prajna, Yi Luo, Lu Feishue, Ming Yu, and many others had reached the immortal realm. The God realm was the lowest realm in the God world. With a huge amount of resources and supreme cultivation techniques, as long as one's talent was not too bad, one could easily break through to the God realm. At this rate, there would be more than 1,000 people in the Lu clan who had broken through to the immortal state in less than a decade. Now, the Lu family was no longer just a family with the surname Lu. The Yi family, the Jiang family, and the Kong family were all considered to be affiliated families of the Lu family. Therefore, there were many Lu family disciples in the divinity, more than 5,000 or 6,000 in total. Some were left in the Earth Imperial universe. If all of them were brought up, the total would reach tens of thousands. These few days, the atmosphere in the Lu family was exceptionally heavy. Initially, some of the young masters who often went out to play didn't dare to go out these few days. They just stayed at home and cultivated. The 2 mistresses of the Lu clan were injured. Although their injuries were not serious, they had to be carried back. This matter had infuriated the Lu family's disciples, but the Lu family hadn't been in the divine world for long, and their battle prowess was considered the lowest in the divine world. Therefore, although they had a high status, they did not have the strength to take revenge. Outside the loft of a luxurious manor of the Lu family, a young man was kneeling stubbornly outside. He had been kneeling for several days. Many people tried to persuade him to get up, but he stubbornly continued to kneel. A sigh came from one of the pavilions. Following that, a beautiful woman walked out. She looked at the young man and said, "Luan, since you know your mistake, go back and cultivate well. The injuries of the 2 mothers have mostly recovered, so you don't have to worry." "No." The young man stubbornly continued to kneel. With red eyes, he said, "It was I who was reckless and made my mother suffer. Before my 2 mothers recover, I will continue to kneel here. Are you not going to listen to me anymore?" The beautiful woman revealed a sullen expression and was about to reprimand him. Suddenly, a few figures flew over from the distant sky. A powerful divine sense radiated over and locked onto her. The anger on the beautiful woman's face intensified. This was a forbidden ground. Who dared to fly in the Lu clan's manor? How dare they use their divine senses to check her so rudely? The beautiful woman looked up and scanned with her divine senses. When she locked onto a person in midair, her delicate body trembled violently. Her legs went soft, and she almost lost her balance. She subconsciously rubbed her eyes, thinking that she had seen wrongly. When she opened her eyes again, she looked at the figure that was getting closer and closer. When she saw that dreamy face, Hot tears flowed down like pearls from her eyes. She could no longer hold back her tears. Get up. The beautiful woman let out a trembling voice and said, "There is no need to kneel. Your father will naturally help you make up for your mistake. He will also help you seek justice." Father? Luo's face revealed a trace of astonishment. His biological father was Yi Luo. Naturally, he thought of Yi Luo. What did Yi Luo mean by making up for his mistake? He followed the beautiful woman's gaze and looked over. His eyes widened as he said with a face full of shock, "Father? Father is back. Luan, why are you making a ruckus outside? Don't you know that your mothers are resting?" Lu Feishua walked out from the attic with a cup in her hand. She stared at Lu in dissatisfaction. At that moment, a man came down from the sky and landed in the yard. Then came a familiar voice, "Aunt Xiaoxua, I'm back." Bang! The cup in Lu Feishua's hand fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Lu Feishua's eyes were filled with tears. Her lips trembled as she said, "Luli, is it really you?" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many people flew out from the more than a dozen yards and rushed over. When they saw the white-haired young man standing in the yard, the entire Lu family was thrown into chaos. "Darling," two people rushed out from the attic. They were still in their sleeping robes. Bai Xiaoshuang's forehead was still wrapped in white gauze with blood seeping out. She threw herself into Lu Li's arms as soon as she saw him. She cried her heart out as if she was trying to vent all the grievances she had suffered over the years. Lu Li held Bai Xiaoshuang in his arms. He could no longer hold back his anger when he saw the wound on her forehead. Killing intent spread out from him. Many Lu family warriors that were about to come over stopped. They felt they could not breathe. "My grandson is back. He is back," Lu Zhengyang cried. He walked over with Lu Renhuang, Mingyu, and Jiang Wua. Lu Li handed Bai Xiaoshuang over to Bai Qiuxue. Then he dropped to one knee and said, "Greetings, Grandpa, Father, and elders. Get up, get up." Lu Zhengyang took Lu Li's hands, choking with sobs. Lu Renhuang's eyes were filled with tears as well. He nodded and said, "It is good that you are back. I'm sorry that you have suffered. I'm not filial." Lu Li felt like crying. Even though the Lu family had grown stronger because of him, they were also affected by him. They must have been living in fear all these years. "Qiling, Qiuxue." Lu Li turned around and hugged Bai Qiuxue and Jiang Qiling. Looking at Jiang Qiling's pale face, Lu Li said with determination, "Trust me, I will make whoever hurt you pay for it 100 times over." "Okay." Jiang Qiling's beautiful face was covered in tears. She smiled and said, "My man is back. From now on, nobody can bully us." Lu Li patted Jiang Qiling's shoulder and then greeted Jiang Hua, Yi Luo, and some other familiar faces. In the end, his gaze landed on a delicate woman. She stood at the side and seemed to be a little out of place with the Lu family. When Lu Li saw her, she said with tears in her eyes, "Brother, Shir, come here." Lu Li waved his hand. Qi Shi worked up her courage and flew over like a bird into Lu Li's arms. "Brother Lu." Chapter 2098. When he met Prajna, Lu Li was young, and so was Prajna. She was a little nun as pretty as a porcelain doll. Later on, Prajna grew up and returned to secular life. But Lu Li had always treated Prajna as a little sister. He had turned her down time and time again. Eventually, before Lu Li ascended to the divinity, Prajna came to him and told him that when she became an immortal, she should go to the divinity to find him and ask him to accept her. Lu Li agreed to it. Prajna cultivated hard and became the youngest warrior of the semi-god realm in the 9 universes. On several occasions, Lu Li went back to the Earth Imperial Universe to avoid seeing Prajna because he wanted her to forget about him and marry a man she loved. After all, back then, Lu Li was a wanderer. He could not even guarantee his own safety. The divinity was full of dangers, and he could bring disaster to the Lu family. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat when he heard Prajna had become an immortal. He knew that Prajna had been waiting for him, and she had been working hard for him to accept her. In order to make the man she loved accept her, a young and beautiful woman wasted the best years of her youth and went into seclusion to cultivate alone. Humans were not plants. How could they be emotionless? While Luli was moved, he also felt troubled. What about Pan Yuqin? He had incurred too many debts of love. I will not dwell on it. Luli recalled the ups and downs over the years, the life and death experiences. Soon he calmed down. Apart from life and death, nothing else mattered. As long as they could live happily, as long as they felt that this was the only way to live, then what did it matter? In this world, the strong were respected. Many big shots had thousands of wives and concubines. Luli was not pedantic. He just told himself that he should never mess around with women again. Having thought this through, Luli patted Chi Shir's shoulder and walked over to Prajna. He patted her head and said with a smile, "Congratulations, Prajna. The promise I made to you is still valid." Woo, woo, Prajna threw herself into Luli's arms. Soon, she came back to her senses and let go of Luli. She looked at him affectionately and said, "Brother Lu, what I have done over the years is worth it." Luli gave her a look, but did not say much to Prajna. He went on to greet the others. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushua looked at each other and forced a smile. Their husbands found more sisters for them, but as long as Luli could come back safely, nothing else mattered to them. It was just as Luli had thought. Apart from his life and death, nothing else mattered. As long as Luli could survive, they wouldn't worry too much. Since Jiang Qiling and Bai Xiaoshuang were still injured, Lu Xingyang told Luli to take them in to tend to their wounds first. Luli did not see Patriarch of Law Enforcement. He asked and learned that Patriarch of Law Enforcement was cultivating. Luli told Lu Xingyang and the others to rest in a hall nearby, and then introduced Ganlin and the others. He led them in. He took out some healing pellets of the second sky and fed them to the two. Then, he used divine energy to heal them. Naturally, the pellets of the second plane were better than those in the divinity. In a couple of hours, most of their wounds were healed. Luli also had a clear understanding of what happened. "Zwichio Gue?" Luli murmured. It seemed that many people of the Zwichio family had escaped back then. How could a young disciple cultivate so fast? He could be as fast as Prince East and Prince North. Luli would not believe that there was no one behind it. "Yuqin." Luli went out to find Pan Yuqin and said, "Send someone to find Ling Qingyin and tell her to come back. I will deal with this later." "I have done that." Pan Yuqin was smart. As soon as Luli came back, she gave her orders. Luli nodded and walked into the hall. Ganlin and Lu Zhengyang were chatting happily. Ganlin did not put on any airs. He was kind and respectful to Lu Zhengyang and Lu Renwan. Luli chatted with them for half a day. He told them about going to the second sky, but he did not go into details. He only said that he had met a benefactor. In the future, he would not have to worry about invading the divinity. Nobody would have the courage to kill him. Lu Xingyang and Lu Renhuang were overjoyed. Ganlin added that the Lu family was going to the Asmodean island at the second sky. It was safer there, and they could cultivate faster. The Lu family was happy and worried at the same time. It was good that they could go to a higher realm. However, they were not powerful enough. They had finally settled down in the divinity, and now they had to go to a new place. Inevitably, they felt conflicted and uneasy. "Don't worry." Ganlin saw the worry in everyone's eyes. He explained, "The safest place in the second sky is the Asmodean island. Before we came, the Asmodean sent a message to my father, saying that from now on, the Mountain of Clouds will be given to Luli. You can all go to the Mountain of Clouds to cultivate and live. Later, we will arrange for someone to build a teleportation altar to connect here in the Mountain of Clouds. It will be easy for you to go back to the divinity." Ganlin did not mention this to Lu Li, which surprised him. He was even more grateful to the Asmodean. The Mountain of Clouds was a wonderful place, especially the peak. The Xianqi in heaven and earth was rich there. If the Lu family could live on the peak, they would all be able to reach the immortal realm without much cultivation. There is also a Tower of Monsters on the Mountain of Clouds. They could cultivate in the Tower of Monsters and grow stronger. In hundreds of years, the Lu family might not become a super family at the second sky, but at least they would be strong. What a great favor! Luli kept his gratitude in mind. He told himself that he must reach the peak of the third tribulation as soon as possible and go to the third sky to help the Asmodean get the scroll back. Russell, 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 they chatted for 2 hours when a team leader suddenly came in. He walked to Pan with a serious face and whispered something to her. What? Pan was taken aback. She stood up. Luli looked at her and asked coldly, what is going on? Sister Qing Yin is in trouble. Pan could not care less about the crowd. She said directly, Sister Qing Yin was ambushed in the divinity. She fled after being badly injured. Now, I don't know if she is still alive. How dare you? Luli was enraged. He hadn't gone to the divinity to confront those people yet. Now they had made a move. Ling Qing Yin was his woman. If she really died, he was afraid that he would go crazy. Brother gone. Luli could not stay here a second longer. He cupped his fist to Lin and said, I have to go and deal with something. You stay here. Go to Pan if you need anything. I will go with you. Lin stood up and said coldly, I am curious as well. Who has the guts to make trouble in the divinity? Lin had learned something about the divinity. Theoretically speaking, a force at the second sky would not have the guts to come down and mess around. Lin was confused that someone dared to lay a finger on Luli's woman. Yes, the 4 followers of Axe Demon stood up as well and said, Young Master Lu, let's go together and see who is the fool. Luli was confident that he could handle it. That being said, he could not turn down Lin and the others' hospitality. He nodded and said, Then please go into my interspatial artifact first. I will fly there directly. Okay. Lin and the others nodded. Luli let them into the mountain. Then he asked Pan where was Ling Qing Yin ambushed? Residence of Beast God. Pan answered at once. Luli nodded and said, I will go there first. Have your scouts check on the situation and report to me at any time. Hiss! Luli drew a talisman in the air. A small golden door appeared. Then he walked in and disappeared from everyone's sight. Lu Xingyang was worried. Lady Pan, will she be okay? Grandpa Lu, don't worry. Chapter 2099. The 4 supreme forces of the divine world actually had no contact with the second heaven all these years. It was not that they did not want to contact the people above, but the people above did not care about them. The divine world was just a small domain, and there were many domains like this. The great forces of the second heaven all controlled many of these small domains. Because the divine world was controlled by several great forces, there had never been a great force that could dominate the divine world. Therefore, the great forces above actually did not care about the divine world. In addition, the evil demons invaded the divine world some time ago, causing great damage to the vitality of the divine world. More than 70 to 80% of the human race died. It would take at least thousands of years for the divine world to recover to its heyday. There were no special spirit medicines or divine materials in the divine world. What did the great forces above value in the divine world? Of course, it was talents that could be cultivated. This was the talent reserve base of the great forces above. Once a good seedling appeared in the divine world, he would be sent to the second heaven to join the great forces above to be cultivated. Now, there were so many martial artists in the divine world that there were almost no people, let alone talents. Why would the great forces above care about the divine world? Therefore, the recent rise of the 3 supreme forces actually had nothing to do with the great forces of the second heaven. The great forces above were not doing charity and providing so many resources to the 3 supreme forces for no reason. There was naturally a reason why the 3 supreme forces rose so quickly recently. It was because 3 mysterious experts came to the divine world. They secretly controlled the 3 supreme forces and gave them countless resources, which allowed many people in the 3 supreme forces to rise quickly. The origins of these 3 people were very mysterious, and their battle strength was also very strong. They also had their own strange magical skills and spells, which easily controlled the 3 supreme forces. Only the craftsman's sect did not surrender. Luo Huang was the current craftsman's sect master, and she refused the recruitment of the three mysterious experts. Still not found? In the Beast God City, a handsome young man angrily looked at the commanders kneeling on the ground and shouted, Ling Qingyan is so badly injured. You sent thousands of people to search for him for so many days, and you still can't find him? Are you all useless? Young master, please forgive us. The few commanders' faces were full of resentment. One commander plucked up his courage and said, Ling Qingyan is Prince Yan. Her strength is unfathomable, and she has thousands of magical skills. If she wants to hide, it will be difficult for those low-level scouts to find her. Zhuqiu Gui, don't make things difficult for them. A gloomy voice rang out. Everyone's gaze turned to the person who was shrouded in a black robe sitting on the main seat. The handsome young master quickly bowed and said, Third master, my subordinates are incompetent. Don't worry, the black-robed man waved his hand and said, I will personally pursue her. She has been poisoned by my parasite and can't run far. Furthermore, even if she escapes, she won't be able to live for long. Really? Zhuqiu Gui was overjoyed. If we can kill Ling Qingyan, that slut, we will soon conquer Yuyan. What is a mere Yuyan pass? The black-robed man said coldly. Go back and take down the craftsman's sect as well, and let your space-time mansion unify the entire immortal realm. Thank you, Third Master. Zhuqiu Gui was overjoyed. The black-robed man ignored him and took out a black bone. It was covered in divine runes, and there were goo worms crawling in and out of it. It looked extremely terrifying. Buzz, after a while, a small goo worm flew out and headed to the east. The black-robed man looked up and showed his scarred face. He sneered and said, In the east, Zhuqiu Gui, bring your men and follow me. This time, we cannot let this woman escape. TSK, this woman is of the highest quality. Third Master will enjoy her. It's a pity that I was injured last time, or else she wouldn't have been able to escape. Yes, sir. Zhuqiu Gui cupped his fists and arranged for thousands of men to follow. He was envious. He had been drooling over a girl of the highest quality like Ling Qingyan for a long time. He wondered if Third Master would give her to him after he was tired of her. The black-robed man led thousands of men and rushed to the east. Only 10 to 12 hours after they left, a figure flew over from the north of the divine beast mansion. Luli flew over. When he arrived, he released his dragon wings and unfettered steps and dashed toward the beast god city at a terrifying speed. Ling Qingyan was missing. None of the scouts of Yuyan Pass could find her. Therefore, Luli wanted to come to the beast god city as soon as possible to capture a group of people and interrogate them. This way, it would be easier to find Ling Qingyan. What? Zhuqiu Gui had left, but there were still thousands of warriors in the beast god city. There were a few soldiers standing on the city wall. They had just seen a black dot in the north, and in the next second, a figure appeared in the sky above the city, scaring many of the soldiers. Was this person still human with such speed? Yes, he is not a human being. Many warriors thought to themselves when they saw the dragon wings on Lu Li's back. He must not be a human being if he had wings. However, when they took a closer look, many warriors were taken aback. Many trembled, and someone shouted in surprise, He looks like Lu Li. Lu Li was a celebrity in the divinity. Many warriors had never seen him in person, but his portrait and statues could be found in many places. Some civilians even put his portrait on display in their homes and worshipped him day and night. Lu Li paid no attention to the warriors. He spread out his psychic power and covered the entire city. He didn't see anyone familiar, but he didn't mind. He found a most powerful warrior, dashed to the warrior's side, grabbed the warrior's neck, and lifted him up. Everyone in the city was taken aback again. The warrior Lu Li caught was a deacon of space-time office, the most powerful among them. How could Lu Li capture him so easily? How powerful was Lu Li? Is it really Lu Li? Some people were taken aback. Lu Li's abilities were horrifying. Back in the days, he defeated all the demons and defeated the 4 legendary forces. If it were Lu Li himself, then the four legendary forces would have been doomed. Where's Prince Yin? Ling Qingyan. Luli asked the deacon coldly and added, "If you answer well, you can all live. If not, all warriors in the city will die." As Luli spoke, he couldn't suppress his murderous intent. Everyone in the city felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. The deacon that was caught by Luli wanted to fight back, but he didn't dare to move. He stared into Luli's eyes and asked with trembling lips, You are? Lord Luli?" "Yes," Luli answered coldly. Many people in the city dropped to their knees at once. They didn't care about the dispute between the divinity and the land of serenity. All they knew was that Luli was the savior of the divinity, the savior of everyone. Lord Luli. Many more warriors dropped to their knees. To many people, Luli was like a god, regardless of whether they were enemies or not. His reputation deserved their knees. Lord Lu. A glint of despair rose in the deacon's eyes. Soon, he made up his mind and said, "I don't know where Prince Yin is, but Young Chief and Lord Three just went to the east with thousands of warriors. I think they're going to search for Prince Yin." "Young Chief, Lord Three?" Luli frowned and asked, "Who are they?" The deacon explained, "Young Chief is Zhuo Qiuge, the grandnephew of the former chief, Zhuo Qiu Lu. Lord Three, I don't know who he is. Chief Master and patriarchs call him Lord Three. He is very powerful. There really are some monsters." Luli sneered. He flew up and went to the east with the deacon in his hand. Soon, he vanished in a blur. I thought Lord Luli was dead. It was not until the time for half an incense stick to burn that someone shouted in surprise. Several years ago, there was a rumor in the divinity that Luli had passed away. Otherwise, who would dare to make trouble at the land of serenity when Luli was in charge? The world is changing. Chapter 2100. Willow River Prefecture. There was a cave in the underground river. At the moment, there was an inhibition formation in the cave. The inhibition formation formed a dim shield that isolated the chi and energy from the outside. A beautiful lady was sitting in the shield with her legs crossed. Her face was pale, and half of her body was covered in blood. The bone of her left shoulder could be seen. She had been sitting there cross-legged for 5 days. Although her injuries had healed a little during these 5 days, her complexion had become even paler. Goo poison. She opened her eyes at this moment. There was a glint of despair in her eyes. She murmured, "There are venomous insects in my blood. They're eating my blood. In less than half a month, I will die, right? These venomous insects are too powerful and vicious." Alas, she sighed. She was not afraid of death. She was just sorry that she could no longer protect the land of Yuyin, the Ling family, and the Lu family. Who is that black-robed man? There was a trace of fear in her eyes as she muttered, "Could it really be someone from the second heaven? But the Hall of Black Flame is not good at using venomous insects. I have never heard of such a powerful warrior in the forces behind the Hall of Life and Death and the Pavilion of Destiny." After thinking for a while, she still could not figure it out. She bit her teeth and murmured, "I cannot die. Otherwise the land of Yuyin Pass will be finished. The people of the Lu family will all be killed. I have failed Lu Li. I will not die in peace." She closed her eyes and continued to sit with her legs crossed, trying to force the venomous insects out or kill them. Unfortunately, the venomous insects were splitting inside her body. There was no way to kill them all. PFF. Half a day later, she suddenly spat out some blood. There were many venomous insects swimming in her blood. She looked up and was even more frightened. The venomous insects are so active. That black-robed man is here. Ling Qingyan took out a dark golden rod. This was the spirit heaven treasure that Lu Li gave her. Her armor had already been shattered, so this was the only thing she could rely on. "I will kill him even if I have to die," Ling Qingyan said coldly. She was filled with fighting spirit. She had just finished her words when she heard a creepy laugh. "Pretty girl, you want to kill me? You must be suffering these days. You have less than 30% of your abilities now." Xiao, a beam of light flew over. Ling Qingyan's shield exploded, and the beam of light shot over. Ling Qingyan clapped his hands and flew up. Soon, he broke out of the ground. Hee. In the air, a man in a black robe sat on a chariot with thousands of soldiers beside him. Zhuqiuge was right next to the chariot, staring at Ling Qingyan as if he wanted to rip her clothes off. Beauty. Third Master's eerie voice continued. Submit to me, and not only will I cure you of the goo poison, I will also bestow you with many treasures, allowing you to easily break through to the second tribulation realm. I can even make you the most powerful woman in the God realm. Zhuqiuge's expression changed slightly, but he didn't dare to say anything. Ling Qing glanced at the crowd and sneered. Who do you think you are? You ugly thing that's neither human nor ghost. Yet you want this king to submit to you? Dream on. You refuse a toast, only to drink a forfeit. Third Master was enraged. A bone appeared in his hand with goo insects crawling in and out. He said with a murderous look, Since you are so stubborn, I will refine you into a corpse lady. It will be more fun that way. Whoosh, whoosh, countless beams of black light shot out from the black bone. Those were powerful goo insects. They came from all directions and started to attack Ling Qingyan. These goo insects were vicious and powerful. Ling Qingyan's primordial spirit treasure armor was destroyed by them. Not daring to underestimate them, she immediately released her most powerful attack at the surrounding goo insects. Boom, boom, boom. The goo insects were knocked away and some were killed. Unfortunately, Ling Qingyan was much weaker than when she was at her peak. The goo insects kept coming and soon exploded around Ling Qingyan. She was injured again and again and was blown away again and again. Tisk, tisk. Third Master sighed. Such a beautiful body, but you are injured. I pity you. Beauty, don't struggle. You are no match for me, even at your peak, let alone now. Zhuqiuge nodded and said, Yes, Prince Yin, surrender. Think about your people. If you die, all of them will die. If you surrender, I will make sure your people live. Who do you think you are? Ling Qingyan glared at Zhuqiuge and suddenly flew towards the chariot. The dark golden iron rod became longer and smashed towards Zhuqiuge. She shouted coldly, Back then, even your grandpa didn't dare to mess with me. How dare you threaten me? Go to hell. Hee. The black bone in the man's hand flashed with black light. He threw it out and the bone grew bigger and clashed with the dark golden iron rod. Ling Qingyan felt a strong force, and her iron rod was shaken away. Bang! A goo worm flew over and exploded outside Ling Qingyan's body. Her delicate body was sent flying and rolled on the ground. She was badly injured and was not as strong as before. She was no match for the man in black. First, I will let you taste the pain of thousands of goo insects piercing your heart. The man in black laughed. Countless black lights lit up in the bone, and goo insects flew out, covering the sky. It was a scary scene. Whoosh! Right at that moment, there came a noise from the west. The noise was weak, but it caught the attention of the man in black. The man in black stopped what he was doing. He was surprised. Zhuqiuge and the others were attracted. They looked over and their expressions changed. From the west, a man was flying over at a horrifying speed. A moment ago, he was thousands of miles away. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of them. His face was getting bigger and bigger. That man, Zhuqiuge looked like he had seen a ghost as he pointed at the figure that was getting closer and closer. Third Master's face also revealed a serious expression because the speed of the person approaching was too fast to the point that it was frightening. When the man was 30 miles away, Third Patriarch stood up, cupped his fists, and said, Greetings, Lord. Lord? Zhuqiuge blinked and was about to salute as well. Then he thought of something and murmured, Third Patriarch, he looks like Luli. Ling Qingyan was so weak that she almost passed out. She heard Zhuqiuge's voice. Her eyes glowed. She stood up and looked to the west. When he saw a familiar face and a pair of eyes full of heartache, Ling Qingyan's body trembled. Tears gushed out of her eyes. She cried, Little man, is it really you, Luli? Third Patriarch was confused. Then he remembered. He asked with a straight face, The man you were talking about? Yes, it is me. Luli answered. Then he flew down. He paid no attention to third patriarch and Zhuqiuge. He half-knelt next to Ling Qingyan. He touched Ling Qingyan's blood-covered face with trembling hands. He blamed himself and said, Qingyan, it is all my fault. I came back too late. Not late, not late. Ling Qingyan smiled. Because of the blood, her smile was sad and beautiful. She said with tears in her eyes, I can die without regrets now that I can see you again. You will not die, Luli said with determination. You will live on until the end of time. As for those who hurt you, I will make them beg for death. Chapter 2101. Looking into Lu Li's eyes, Ling Qingyan was taken aback. She knew that Lu Li never lied. Since he said she could live, then she could. Buzzing, the mountain in Lu Li's hand glowed. Ganlin and the 4 warriors of the Third Tribulation were teleported out. Patriarch San, Zhuqiuge, and the others used psychic power to check. Their expressions changed. Zhuqiuge could not tell their specific abilities. He only knew that they were unfathomable and powerful. Patriarch San, on the other hand, could tell that they were not from the divinity. When Ganlin and the others came out, they locked onto Patriarch San with psychic power. One of the 4 warriors glanced at Ling Qingyan and said in a serious tone, Goo poison. Luli wanted to take out some elixirs to heal Ling Qingyan and suppress the poison in her body. Hearing the old warrior's voice, Luli asked, Patriarchy, can you do it? This goo poison is just a small trick. Patriarch, he took out a turquoise bottle. With a glare, a green snake as thick as a finger came out. Patriarch, he said, Young Master Lu, if you trust me, I can help you get rid of the poison in this young lady's body. Green jade snake? Patriarch San's expressions changed again when he saw the snake. Luli looked at Patriarch San and then at Ganlin. Luli nodded and said, Patriarchy, thank you. Buzzing, the green snake flew out from Patriarchy's bottle, rushed into the wound on Ling Qingyan's shoulder in a ray of green light. Ling Qingyan groaned in pain, but she made up her mind and endured it. Luli calmed himself down and did not panic. He kept checking on Ling Qingyan's body with psychic power. The green snake turned into a green blur and moved quickly inside Ling Qingyan's body. Ling Qingyan was in so much pain that he was trembling. He grabbed Lu Li's arm with force. In the time for just a dozen breaths, the green snake flew out from Ling Qingyan's shoulder. Putting away the bottle, Patriarch, he said with pride, Young Master Lu, the poison in this young lady's body is all gone. Just treat her. Thank you, Patriarchy. Luli looked at Patriarch, he gratefully. He took out a top-level pellet and fed it to Ling Qingyan. The latter felt he was going to collapse. However, she felt much more relaxed. She could feel that the goo worms in her body had been devoured by the green snake. She wouldn't die. Xiao. At this moment, the bone in San Ye's hand flashed with light. After it enlarged, he flew onto the bone and actually turned into a black light as he fled into the distance. His most powerful weapon was his poison. Now that it had been broken, he was naturally afraid and wanted to escape. Still want to escape? Ganlin and the rest had been staring at the Third Master. Seeing that the Third Master was trying to escape, Ganlin sneered coldly. A huge iron ruler appeared in his hand, and he slammed it down heavily. High up in the sky, the phantom of an iron ruler that was thousands of meters long appeared, crushing down with a terrifying speed. Just as Third Master flew away, the iron ruler pressed down, smashing him down. Boom! There were several huge mountain peaks in front of him. After the iron ruler smashed down, several of the mountain peaks were smashed into pieces. In front of him was a deep ravine several thousand meters long. Third Master was smashed into the ground, his body a bloody mess. It was obvious that he was heavily injured. Hiss, Zhuqiuge and the others trembled. They felt their souls were trembling. The iron ruler was a secret treasure, rare even at the second heaven. How could Zhuqiuge and the others have seen it before? The pressure from the iron ruler was too horrifying. Everyone felt that they could be smashed into dust with a light touch of the iron ruler. Whoosh! An old man flew over and soon came back with Third Master. He even used some strange energy to seal Third Master. He threw Third Master to the ground and waited for Lu Li to deal with him. Gan Lin glanced at San Yi with a hint of doubt in his eyes as he asked, "Who are you? Where are you from?" Third Master's eyes were filled with hatred. He snorted and said, "I am Yin Xen, a disciple of the Five Poisons sect." Five Poisons sect? Gan Lin and the other old men looked at each other. Everyone was surprised. This Third Master was at the peak of the Second Heaven Tribulation, and he was only a disciple of the Five Poisons sect? The Five Poisons sect should be a big force. How come Ed never heard of it? Gan Lin asked again. Where is the headquarters of the Five Poisons sect? You won't know even if I tell you. Third Master said with pride. The headquarters of the Five Poisons sect is at the Heaven Camel Mountain. Do you know that? Heaven Camel Mountain? Gan Lin and the others were surprised again. They had never heard of this place before. Patriarchy thought for a while and suddenly remembered something. He shouted in surprise, "The Heaven Camel Mountain at the third heaven. Ha ha, old man, you do have some knowledge." Third Master said with pride, "I am from the Five Poisons sect at the Heaven Camel Mountain at the third heaven. You better let me go. If you offend the Five Poisons sect, you will die no matter how powerful your background is." Ha ha. Gan Lin sneered and said, "You say you are from the Five Poisons sect? Do you think you can impersonate us just because you know some poisons?" Buzzing, Third Master's ring glowed and a token flew out. He said with mockery, "Open your eyes and look carefully. This is the token of the Five Poisons sect. Take a closer look. Can this token be forged? I'm not afraid to tell you that my big brother is an outer sect commander of the Five Poisons sect. Even your strongest force cannot afford to offend the Five Poisons sect." Gan Lin and the others picked up the token and took a closer look. All of their expressions changed. The token was exquisitely made and had complicated divine patterns on it. One look, and they could tell that it was not an ordinary item. It was true that it could not be forged easily. Patriarch, search his soul directly. Lu Li suddenly said coldly. Patriarch, and the others' expressions changed. This person would become a fool even if he didn't die after searching his soul. This would completely offend the Five Poisons sect. Lu Li glanced at Patriarch and said indifferently, "Patriarch, do you think a disciple of a force at the third heaven would come to a small place like the divinity realm to act like a tyrant?" What? Patriarch, and the others' eyes lit up as if they were enlightened. They immediately understood. Even a disciple of a force at the second heaven would disdain to come to the divinity realm, let alone the third heaven. Even if a disciple of a force at the third heaven went to the second heaven, the forces would treat him well. Why would he come to the divinity realm and help the three super forces to find trouble with the land of Yin? Let me do it. Patriarch, he took action personally. He reached out his hand and grabbed Third Master's head. Third Master's face was filled with fear as he shouted, "Stop, or my big brother will not let you go. My big brother is at the later stage of the third tribulation and is proficient in the art of poison. If you dare to do this to me, he will refine you into zombies." Patriarch, he showed a trace of disdain. He channeled his soul power and forcefully injected it into Third Master's head. After a moment, Third Master could not speak. His eyes were dazed, and he had clearly become a fool. All right. Patriarch, he withdrew his hand after a moment. Lu Li took out a saber. With a flash of cold light, Third Master's head exploded into a mist of blood. Plop! Zuichio Gue was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He dropped to his knees and kept kowtowing to Lu Li. "Young Master Lu, we are guilty. Please spare our lives." Plop! Thousands of warriors knelt down as well. They kept kowtowing to Lu Li and begged for mercy. None of them wanted to run away. If Third Master could not run away, where else could they go? Lu Li didn't look at them. He looked at Ling Qingyin gently and said, "Qingyin, let me treat your wounds first. When you are better, you can do it yourself." Okay. Ling Qingyin was the lamia whose name shook the land of Yin. Her hands were stained with blood. She didn't look at the thousands of warriors. She looked at Lu Li with tenderness in her eyes. She was as beautiful as a blood-soaked azalea. Chapter 2102. Oldie digested the information from the soul search, and his expression turned grim. He released a barrier, isolating them from the outside world, and said, young Master Lu, I'm afraid there's going to be some trouble this time." Lu Li fed Ling Qingyan some top-level pellets and helped her heal for a while. Ling Qingyan's condition was much better now. He stood up and asked, "What kind of trouble? Tell me." "This person is indeed a disciple of the Five Poison sect." Elder He's words caused the expressions of Gan Lin and the others to change slightly. However, he added another sentence which made everyone feel relieved, but he was expelled from the sect. The reason why he came to the divine world was because he could no longer survive in the third heaven. He had too many enemies. That's why they don't dare to go to the second heaven. They came to the immortal world to hide from their enemies, and also because of the war between the immortal world and the fiend world. There are a lot of corpses here, and they want to cultivate a kind of evil art. Them? Lu Li heard the key word. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "How many?" "5. Elder He nodded and said, "There are a total of 5 brothers. They were expelled from the sect because they were too vicious. Right now, all 5 of them are in the divine realm. The eldest and second brother are both third tribulation warriors. The eldest brother is the strongest. He's already at the late stage of third tribulation. Together with his evil arts, he can barely match the peak of third tribulation." Peak of the third tribulation? The faces of Gan Lin and the other 2 old men sank. If it was just an ordinary third tribulation warrior, they wouldn't care. However, if it was a peak third tribulation warrior, it would be troublesome. Moreover, he was good at evil arts. If they were careless, they would all die. Should we go back and report this to the Lord? An elder spoke. The axe demon's battle prowess was very strong, and he believed that as long as the axe demon descended to the lower realm, it would be too easy for him to kill the abandoned disciples of the Five Poison sect. Gan Lin shook his head and sighed. Grandpa might have gone into seclusion. I can only invite Grandpa Saber Demon and Grandpa Arrow Demon. It was impossible to disturb the great Demon King with such a small matter. Axe Demon had been reprimanded by the great Demon King and had been in seclusion recently. Naturally, he couldn't be disturbed. If he wanted to invite them, he could only invite the Saber Demon, Arrow Demon. If the Saber Demon wanted to manage the Heaven Demon City, the best result would be to invite the Arrow Demon out. Not yet. Lu Li waved his hand. If it was Axe Demon, he wouldn't say anything. After all, he was an acquaintance. He was not familiar with the Saber Demon and the Arrow Demon. He was not used to owing too many favors to rashly alarm them because of his matters. As for the great Demon King, he wouldn't be alarmed. This wasn't a big deal, and it would only make the great Demon King look down on him. It was barely comparable to the peak of the third tribulation. In other words, his battle strength was about the same as Yun Kaiyue's. Long Shitian and Yun Kaiyue were both very strong, but didn't the 2 of them still die in his hands? He still had some primal chaos chi. As long as he could hit this person, killing him would be a piece of cake. Besides, this was the divine realm. This wasn't the small world of martial arts, where he could unleash his speed. His speed was much stronger than that of an ordinary peak third tribulation expert. In addition, he could fly through the void, so the danger would be greatly reduced. After Lu Li explained the situation, Gan Lin was eager to try. He said, "Let's kill the other 3 first, and then we will work together to kill our boss. He is only at the later stage of the third tribulation. Lu Li could kill Yun Kaiyue and Yun Zhantian. We still have a chance. We will be fine if we are careful." This patriarch, he and the others were still worried, mainly because Gan Lin and Lu Li were of noble status. If something were to happen to them, they could never atone for their sins. How about this? Seeing that patriarch, he and the others were hesitating, Lu Li said with a smile, "I will go and explore by myself. After I figure out the situation, I will ask for your help. If something goes wrong, we will go to Lord Archer." "No, young Master Lu, This is too dangerous. Patriarch, he tried to persuade Lu Li. He thought about it and said, "How about this? I know something about poisons. I will go with young Master Lu. Young Master Gone, you wait here. We will make a decision after we figure out the situation." Okay. The other three nodded. Patriarch, he was the most powerful of the four, and he did have some knowledge about poisons. It would be best for him to go with Lu Li, all right. Gonlin knew that the four old men wouldn't let him take the risk, so he had to agree. After a while, Ling Qingyin's wounds were healed. She stood up, nodded to Lu Li, and walked out of the shield. Zhuoqiu Gui and the others were still kneeling on the ground. When they saw Ling Qinyin coming out, they were terrified. "Prince of Yin, please spare my life." Zhuoqiu Gui kept kowtowing. He added, "I know about the divinity. I am willing to be Prince of Yan's sole slave. As long as you don't kill me, I will do whatever you want." Buzzing, a ray of red glare came out. Ling Qinyin took out a long sword, released a ray of sword chi, and cut off Zhuoqiu Gui's head. "Prince of Yin, please spare my life." The other warriors were frightened. None of them dared to run or fight back. They kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. Ling Qinyin waved her sword. Every time she swung her sword, a head would be cut off. After she waved her sword for more than 100 times, more than 100 heads fell to the ground. She stopped, waved her hand, and said, "The rest of you, take an almighty oath to leave the space-time office and then get lost." Leave the space-time office? Thousands of warriors were taken aback. Once they left, it would be tantamount to betrayal. The space-time office would hunt them down, but if they didn't leave, they would die. Many made up their minds and took the almighty oath. Then, they ran away in fear. Since someone had taken the lead, the others followed her blindly. All of them took the almighty oath and fled to all directions. Soon, they vanished into the distance. "This is not like you, Prince of Yin." Lu Li walked over with a smile. Ling Qinyin used to be a famous lamia who could kill without batting an eyelid. This time, she only killed over 100 and let thousands go. "Too many have died here." Ling Qinyin sighed. "Let's leave some hope and energy for the divinity." If it were not for Lu Li's return and Ling Qinyin had won, none of the thousands would have survived. Now that Lu Li was back, Ling Qinyin became more delicate. She became a little girl in front of Lu Li. She was not as heartless as before. Lu Li came back with so many powerful warriors. Unifying the divinity was just around the corner. Too many killings had consumed the divinity's energy, which was like breaking one's wings. "Let me send you back to the Yao King's city." Lu Li took out the mountain and let everyone in. Then he flew across the void. His soul was much stronger than before. He could fly across several prefectures. It wouldn't take long for him to go back to the Yuyan land. Ling Qinyin didn't say much. She respected Lu Li. She trusted her man. She even worshipped him blindly. Chapter 2103. After Ling Qing, Gan Lin, and the others were sent to the Yao King city, Lu Li flew away with Patriarchy. Pan Yuqin stayed at the Yao King city and mobilized all the scouts to the divinity. Pan Yuqin's people did not find any trace of the 4 abandoned disciples of the 5 poison sect. Clearly, they had been hiding behind the scenes, controlling the space-time office, cabinet of mystery, and the hall of essences. Those who were not the core would not know who they were. Lu Li and Patriarchy knew. Patriarchy searched their souls and knew that they were in the city. But only Brother 2, Brother 4, and Brother 5 were there. Their big brother was a mystery. Not even Patriarch 3 knew where he was. Since their big brother might not be in the city, Lu Li decided to go to the city first to see if he could kill Brother 2, Brother 4, and Brother 5. In the end, it would be easier for their big brother to be the only one left. Lu Li could fly fast. In half a day, he was about to arrive at the city of space. He stopped at a nearby prefecture and used the unfettered steps to sneak over. He used the trace of the Great Path, which gave him a strong sense. He moved on with the unfettered steps. He went around cities and crowded places. Even if there were 1 or 2 people, they would only see a blur and would think they were seeing things. For hours later, Lu Li stood in front of the city. This city was newly built, but it was still as grand and magnificent as the previous one. Maybe the death of Patriarch 3 and Zhuoqiu had put the city on guard? At the moment, the city had activated the shield. It must have been built by a powerful formation master. Luli checked and found it to be in good condition. Of course, for him, this kind of formation could be cracked easily. He did not break into the city rashly. Instead, he used the trace of the Great Path to see how many powerful warriors were in the city. Blood Fairy, go and take a look as well. Luli told Blood Fairy to go in from underground. Blood Fairy could sense warriors' energy as well. The average warriors in the city were weak. Since Blood Fairy had gone to the second heaven with Luli, she could tell the strength of the warriors. Sure, Luli checked around the city. There were 3 powerful warriors in the city. Blood Fairy had finished her investigation as well. She said, "Master, there are 3 powerful warriors in the city. The most powerful one should be a heaven god of 3 trials, right? There are some complicated divine runes on the ground, but I don't dare to investigate them for fear of alerting them." Blood Fairy was not very clear about the different realms of warriors, so she was not very sure. Luli nodded. It didn't matter as long as there were only 3 of them. The boss shouldn't be in the city, right? Buzz, while Luli was wondering if he should break into the city, the shield was suddenly activated. Then dozens of people flew out. 3 streaks of psychic power spread out, and soon they locked onto Luli. Although Blood Fairy was searching underground, she was still detected by the 3 experts in the city. The 3 of them immediately flew out. The experts from the 3 supreme forces in the city naturally followed. Since he had been discovered, Luli didn't want to leave. He scanned the area with his divine telekinesis and calmed down a little. The eldest of the 5 brothers was indeed not here, but the 2nd, 4th, and 5th brothers had arrived. The 2nd brother was a 3rd tribulation god, while the 4th and 5th brothers were at the peak of the 2nd tribulation. They were all covered in black robes, and there were hideous tattoos on their faces. They looked sinister and terrifying. "Well, he is." A warrior that flew out with the 3 brothers shouted in surprise when he saw Luli with psychic power. The dozens of other warriors were just as shocked. Luli's portrait could be seen all over the divinity. Some of them had met Luli before. How could they not know him? Luli is back. Luli, he is here? I thought he was dead. He is not dead. He has gone to the 2nd tribulation. I didn't expect that he could come back. How? Everyone was shocked. Many warriors on the city wall saw Luli. The city was thrown into a commotion. For them, Luli was invincible. He had defeated the demons and killed the powerful warriors of the Hall of Dark Flames. Their former leader died in Luli's hands. "He is Luli?" A creepy voice came out. The 2nd brother turned to the new master of space-time office, Zhuoqiu. With Zhuoqiu's confirmation, Zhuoqiu looked at Luli and said with doubt, "He is just a warrior that has just reached the 2nd tribulation. Why are you so scared?" Luli's expressions didn't change. He didn't look at the others either. Instead, he continued to use the trace of Tao to sense. He wanted to make sure if the leader of the 5 brothers was in the city. He didn't want to be tricked. "Let's go." Making sure that the leader was not in the city, Luli was still worried. He flew into the distance. He was not as fast as he could be. His speed was only at the later stage of the 2nd tribulation. "You want to run?" The 2nd brother sneered. He waved his hand and went after Luli with his 2 brothers. The others followed, but they were slower and could only stay behind. Even though they were only at the later stage of the 2nd tribulation, it didn't take long for them to cover a distance of thousands of miles. In a huge mountain, Luli was stopped by the 3 brothers. "Let's do it here." Luli took a look. Even if the leader was in the city, he couldn't be here in an instant. Standing in midair, Luli asked the 2nd brother, "Where's your big brother? Call him out. I will fight the 4 of you alone." "Big brother?" The 4th brother frowned. The tattoo on his face twisted. He asked coldly, "How do you know about my big brother? Who are you?" "It doesn't matter who I am," Luli said with arrogance. "If you don't call your big brother out, all 3 of you will die today." "Ha ha," the 3 of them laughed. A black bone appeared in one of their hands while the other two also took out their magic items. The fifth brother let out a creepy laugh and said, "Boy, I will refine you into a zombie when we get back. I will make you immortal, and your soul will not dissipate. You will see the beauty of this world." "Is that so?" A glint of coldness rose in Lu Li's eyes. The ring on his hand glowed as he shouted, "Hidden weapon!" A dark shadow was thrown at the second brother. At the same time, Lu Li's sacred mountain glowed as patriarch he came out. The seven-star saber appeared in Lu Li's hand. He hacked at Brother 5 and shouted, "Patriarch, he do it!" Hidden weapon? Seeing the dark shadow coming, the second brother wanted to crush it. But soon, his pupils contracted as he shouted in surprise, "Brother 3?" For the time, for one breath, Brother 2 was stunned. However, the situation had changed. Lu Li targeted Brother 5 with the Ghost Slayer, while Patriarch he made a move as well. He took out a spear and stabbed at Brother 4 for hundreds of times. Boom! Brother 4 and Brother 5 were smashed away at the same time. Brother 5 was only smashed away because of some injuries. On the other hand, Brother 4 was pierced through by Patriarch he. He died instantly. Patriarch he was a third tribulation god, the most powerful of the four. It was not difficult for him to kill a warrior at the peak of the second tribulation. Brother 4. For the time, for one breath, Brother 2 was stunned. Of his two brothers, one was dead and the other was wounded. His eyes were filled with killing intent. The black artifact in his hand shot out many rays of dark light toward Lu Li and Patriarch he. "Young Master Lu, watch out!" Patriarch he shouted and dodged quickly. Those rays of dark light were evil. Once he was hit, he would be in big trouble. But Patriarchy's worry was unnecessary. Lu Li sped up to the top of his speed. He took out the seal of the Earth King and smashed at Brother 5. The seal of the Earth King was not a top-level artifact, but it was a good one. Brother 5 was already wounded. Now, under the pressure of the seal of the Earth King, he was smashed into pieces. Brother 5. Chapter 2104. Swish, swish, as Brother 2 bellowed, streaks of dark air spread out from the city of time and space. Then, a huge black shadow appeared above the city of time and space and dashed over. He is so strong. He is at the later stage of the third tribulation. Lu Li and Patriarch, he looked at each other. They had a tacit understanding, and they took actions at the same time. Not only did Lu Li use the Slayer's Ghost Cut, but he also used the Dust King's seal. Patriarch, he took out a piece of wood of astonishment and smashed it at Brother 2. Lu Li and Patriarch, he decided to kill Brother 2 first, and then the eldest. Brother 2 was a warrior of the third tribulation as well. Having one more person would mean more variables. Courting death. In the distance, the black shadow punched in midair. As soon as the fist came out, the space trembled and ripples spread toward Lu Li at a fast speed. Lu Li noticed that as the ripples spread out, his Slayer's Ghost Cut slowed down, and so did the Dust King's seal and Wood of Astonishment. Phew, phew. At the same time, a gust of chilly wind blew over. Lu Li and Patriarch, he felt cold and shivered. They looked at each other again and put away their treasures. Lu Li put away Patriarch he and flew away, buzzing. Soon, the black door disappeared. By the time the black shadow was about to attack, Lu Li and Patriarch he had disappeared. The black shadow transformed into a man in a black robe in midair. He glanced at the three bodies on the ground and pulled a long face. Brother 2 was knocked back for more than 1,000 feet by the Slayer's Ghost Cut. He flew over and shouted with anger in his eyes, "Brother, go after them. Avenge Brother 3, Brother 4, and Brother 5. We cannot catch up with him." Patriarch, he said coldly. He used some kind of spatial skill. I think he is tens of millions of miles away now. The second brother furiously shot out a few black lights, flattening a few nearby mountain peaks. The cultivators from the three great forces who had followed behind were all trembling in fear. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. They did not see what happened clearly, but the three bodies on the ground were obvious. Zhuqiu Kuei's lips trembled. So, Zhuqiu Gui was dead, and he was killed by Lu Li. Zhuqiu Gui was with Patriarch 3. Lu Li is so powerful. Many people exclaimed. Brother 3, Brother 4, and Brother 5 were invincible beings in their eyes. Little did they expect that Lu Li and another person could kill them so easily. A peerless genius had appeared in the god world. Not long after this genius went to the second layer of heaven, his battle prowess soared again, and he even brought back a powerful friend. It was a pity that this prodigy was not their friend, but their enemy. Otherwise, they would all feel honored. There were actually a lot of people from the immortal world who went to the second heaven, but most of them were secretly taken away by people from the upper realm to be nurtured as backup forces. Only a small number of powerhouses went to the second heaven alone. But after so many years, no one from the immortal world who went to the second heaven had made a name for themselves. There was only one person who became an elder of a mid-tier power. Lu Li could be said to be the most talented person in the world. It was a pity that he was their enemy. Otherwise, they could have taken advantage of Lu Li and gone to the second heaven to gain experience. Get over here. Boss swept a dark glance over, and Zhuqiu Kui and the others immediately flew over and knelt on the ground in fear. Boss said, "Tell me everything about those two. If you hide anything, I will skin you alive." We dare not, we dare not. Zhuqiu Kui replied with respect. That old man is unfamiliar. We have never seen him before. I don't think he is from the divinity. That white-haired young man is called Lu Li. He used to... Zhuqiu Kui gave a brief account of what happened to Lu Li over the years. Boss's eyes flickered and he said, "It has been less than 10 years since he went to the second heaven. How can he be so strong? That old man should be from a force at the second heaven. No matter where he comes from, he must die for killing my brother." Zhuqiu Kui. Boss ordered, "Send out all the scouts to search for them. If you find them, do not act rashly and alert them. Report at once." Yes. Zhuqiu Kui and the others flew back to the space-time office at once and gave out orders. Soon, the entire divinity was in action. Boss and second brother brought the 3 corpses back to the space-time city and entered an underground palace. We must speed up the refinement. Boss's eyes flickered. Second brother was taken aback. Then he said hurriedly, "Brother, this is not the best time yet. What if we fail on the verge of success if we start now?" "There is no time." Boss said coldly. That Lu Li should be related to a force at the second heaven. If he invites some powerful warriors from the second heaven, we will all die. After we finish this job, if there is a chance, we will kill them and avenge Brother 3. If there is no chance, we will leave the divinity at once. All right. Second brother made up his mind and said, "If there is a chance, we will kill our way to the land of Yuyin and turn all of Lu Li's family and friends into zombies. We can talk about this later. Let's get ready." Black air came out from Boss's hand and was injected into the walls of the underground palace. The walls lit up at once. Then, black air came out from the walls and enveloped the entire underground palace. If Lu Li and the others were here, they would be able to tell that there were dozens of palaces nearby, and those palaces were filled with corpses. In just one day, the entire divinity was in an uproar. The Hall of Life and Destiny and the Cabinet of Mystery in the space-time office had sent out an order to mobilize many people to search for Lu Li and Lu Li. Since they were looking for people, they should tell them who they were looking for. At least, there should be portraits. When the portraits of Lu Li and Patriarch were distributed, the entire divinity was in an uproar. Lu Li was here. Once again, the 3 forces began to search for Lu Li, determined to hunt him down. Over the years, Lu Li had been a taboo in the divinity. Warriors of smaller forces did not even dare to talk about Lu Li in public for fear of offending the 4 legendary forces. Lu Li had been missing for almost 10 years, but his influence was still there. His reappearance had caught the attention of the entire divinity. Lu Li's reappearance worried many as well. The entire divinity was going to be plunged into a storm of blood again. How many people would die this time? Lu Li and Patriarch he had returned to the Yao King city. Pan Yuqin scouts had infiltrated the City of Time, and they had received the news as well. Lu Li and Patriarch he were relieved to learn that Brother 1 and Brother 2 did not come to the land of Yuyan. Brother 1 is good, but I am confident that I can kill him. Lu Li gathered Ganlin, Patriarch he, and the other two, and said, as long as you can stall him for the time for one breath, when I get close to him, I can kill him with the aura of primordial chaos. Ganlin and the others knew that Lu Li once killed Yun Zhantian, who was at the peak of the third tribulation. They were more confident after hearing Lu Li's words. It would not be difficult for them to stall Brother 1 for 1 or 2 breaths. If Lu Li could release the aura of primordial chaos, it would not be a problem. Time is of the essence. We will move out tomorrow and kill the 2 evil ones. Lu Li made the decision since no one had any objections. That Brother 1 was good. If he were allowed to sneak into the land of Yuyan, many would die here. Chapter 2105. Just like before, Lu Li flew across the void. When he was close to the space-time office, he moved forward at full speed and stealthily. This time, there were scouts everywhere, and Lu Li was in a hurry. Inevitably, he was discovered by the scouts. Lu Li didn't mind. He was fast enough. He believed that by the time the scouts sent back a message, he would have arrived at the space-time city. For hours later, Lu Li arrived above the space-time city. The shield was activated as well. Lu Li didn't wait for the people inside to come out. He took out the Dust King seal and smashed at the city. Boom! Although the city's barrier was not bad, how could it withstand the attack of the Dust King seal? The protective shield burst open, and the Dust King seal rumbled toward the city lord's manor. It crushed a few of the biggest castles in the city lord's manor into a huge pit. Boom! The entire city trembled. Warriors flew up from the castles in the city. All of them were furious. Someone dared to attack the space-time city. Was he courting death? When they saw a white-haired young man above the city, many warriors that flew up fell back. The entire divinity was looking for Lu Li. Little did they expect that he would come to them. Bang! The ground cracked, and dust was flying around. A man flew up. It was the second brother of the 5. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. A black artifact appeared in his hand, but he did not attack recklessly. Instead, he stood in midair and shouted, Lu Li, are you sure you want to go against us? Lu Li used psychic power to check, but did not see the eldest brother. He was surprised. Was the eldest brother trying to sneak up on them? The second brother was not strong, but Lu Li was not worried. He was concerned about the eldest brother. Therefore, Lu Li said coldly, it is not that I want to go against you, but you have come to the divinity to make trouble. As a citizen of the divinity, how can I sit back and do nothing? We're not trying to take over the divinity. We don't want this place. Second brother said with a straight face, why don't we have a talk? We will mind our own business. We will stay here for a year and then leave the divinity. By time, Lu Li sensed something was not right. He had killed 3 of the 5 brothers. The eldest brother was not here, and the second brother wanted to negotiate with Lu Li instead of getting revenge. Lu Li had been through a lot. How could he be fooled by the words of the third young master? Ganlin, elder he, I'll teleport you guys out. Kill second bro immediately. While Lu Li was talking to Ganlin and the others, he said to brother 2, are you sure you only want to stay for a year? Are you sure you'll leave then? It's absolutely true. Brother 2 was delighted. He was about to continue when Lu Li's mountain glowed. Ganlin and Patriarch he dashed out and took actions together. Lu Li released the Slayer's ghost cut as well. 5 Third Tribulation Heavenly Gods and Lu Li. With so many people attacking together, Brother 2 was scared out of his wits. The black metal box in his hand quickly enlarged, and countless goo worms flew out, trying to block the attacks of the 6 people. Boom! The goo bug was shattered, and the iron box was sent flying. A few attacks landed on Second Bro's body, and Second Bro's body was torn apart. He was killed instantly. Brother 2 was only at the initial stage of the third tribulation. How could he survive the attacks of several third tribulation warriors at the same time? Lin even used treasures. Brother Two had no other choice but to die on the spot. Zwichio Koei and the others were in the city. So were the leaders of the Hall of Life and Death and Cabinet of Mystery. They saw that Brother Two was killed easily and that the warriors Luli sent out were all horrifying. Their hearts were trembling. If Brother Two could not survive, today would be the day they all died. Second bro, a sorrowful roar came from underground. The voice contained endless sorrow and rage. Surging killing intent penetrated through the ground, causing everyone in the city to feel as though they had entered the winter season. Lu Li and the others were solemn. Even though Brother Two was the only one left, he was more powerful than the other four brothers put together. They must take this seriously, or else they could all die. Bang! The ground exploded, and black fog filled the air, condensing into a black shadow in midair. Brother Two's eyes were glowing red. He glanced at Lu Li and the others and bellowed, "You will all die. All of you. Move!" Lu Li shouted. Patriarch He and the others attacked together. Warriors in the city were scared out of their wits. They rushed out of the city at once. So many powerful warriors were fighting above the city. They would be smashed into pieces if they were hit by the shockwaves. Brother Two laughed in a spooky way. He was hit by several warriors, but he turned into a dark fog that enveloped the entire city. An incomparably terrifying scene appeared. The martial artists in the city all fell to the ground and screamed. Their skin aged at a speed visible to the naked eye, and their bodies caved in as if all the flesh and blood in their bodies had been sucked dry. Hiss! Lu Li and the others gasped after a few glances. The City of Time was a new city that had only been developed for a few years, and the population was not large. That being said, there were 2 or 3 million of them in total. The dark fog had enveloped the entire city. In the time for a few breaths, millions of people lost their lives. All the dead had the same thing. They were all skin and bones. Their flesh and blood were all sucked dry. Sorcery. Patriarch He and the others were enraged. Sorcery that consumed innocent people to enhance one's abilities, whether in the lower universe, the second heaven, or even the third heaven, was sorcery. No wonder the 5 brothers would be driven out by the 5 Poison sect. Not even the 5 Poison sect could tolerate such sorcery. Find his real body and attack. Patriarchy bellowed. His green vase appeared, and the little green snake came out. It flew around in the dark fog, devouring the undead insects in the dark fog. Patriarch, he had some knowledge of sorcery. He knew there were undead insects in the dark fog. The reason why the dead became like this was because countless undead insects spread out and devoured the essence of the human body. Zwichio Koei and the others were not attacked by the undead insects, even though they were shrouded in the dark fog. However, when they discovered that their clansmen and relatives were dying one after another, their expressions changed drastically. "My lord, please stop and spare our clansmen. Lord, don't kill my people. I am willing to do anything for you. Please let my people go." "Lord," a group of people howled in grief, but their cries were meaningless. The people in the city died in droves. Even the powerful martial artists were quickly losing their life force. Demon. Lu Li's eyes grew cold. Even though Big Brother was a human, he was no different from a demon to Lu Li. Lu Li used the mark of Tao to sense carefully. He believed that no matter how powerful Big Brother's sorcery was, he must have a real body. As long as Lu Li could find the real body and kill him, he could be wiped out completely. He should be underground. After a while, Lu Li didn't find anything in the city. He figured it out. Brother Two came out from underground, and so did Big Brother's shadow. Then his real body must be underground. Lu Li glanced over. Almost all the people in the city were dead. He had nothing to worry about. He enlarged the seal of the Dust King and smashed it at the city. At the same time, he shouted to Patriarch He and Lin, "Blast the city open. The demon is underground." Chapter 2106. Boom, boom, boom. The huge city was smashed into pieces and turned into ruins. There were countless corpses in the city, all of which had been reduced to dregs. The space-time city was built in a mountain. Not only was the city gone, but there was also a huge pit in the mountain. Finally, powerful divine patterns appeared in the belly of the mountain. They were so strong that they could not break them after several attacks. Blood Fairy, Luli said. A ray of red light flew out from Luli's body. Blood Fairy went underground. In a moment, the rune began to glow. Luli smashed down with the Dust King's seal, and the rune was blasted open. Oh, they could use their psychic power to check. They saw countless palaces underground, which were filled with corpses. Goo worms were crawling in and out of the corpses. Everyone's expressions changed. Not only Lu Li and the others, even Zwichio Kuei and the others looked terrible. Although they knew the five brothers were not doing anything good by collecting the corpses, they still felt uncomfortable when they saw their leader was using corpses to raise goo worms. Whether they were enemies or unrelated people, they were all humans and of the same race. But now, the corpses of their own race were being devoured by worms. They felt uncomfortable. Demon, Lu Li's expression turned colder. His psychic power locked onto a black-robed old man sitting in a palace. The old man opened his eyes at this moment. His eyes were filled with anger. He raised his head and looked at Lu Li and the rest. In just half a month, my gold immortal goo will advance. You have ruined my plan, but the six of you are quite strong. Today, I will use your blood essence to refine my gold immortal goo. Gold immortal goo? Oldie's expression changed when he heard this. A huge white ruler appeared in his hand. He said to Lu Li and Gan Lin, "Young masters, retreat immediately. We will hold them back." Lu Li and Gan Lin looked at each other. Why would they retreat? After Old he finished speaking, he rushed downwards and swung the white ruler down heavily. Hee. The old man did not move, but the black light around him shone brightly. Next, countless goo worms flew out from the palaces and formed a huge golden shadow in the air. Roar! A tiger-like roar rang out, and a huge golden phantom image whizzed towards Old He. The phantom image was a huge insect, and it opened its mouth to swallow Old He, and by Chia, Elder, he let out a blood-curdling scream. His body was actually swallowed by the golden shadow. Then his body turned into pus and blood. He was actually killed in an instant. Swoosh, 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 everyone's faces instantly turned pale. Elder, he was a third tribulation god, and his battle prowess was comparable to a third tribulation middle stage third tribulation. Yet, he was instantly killed. What evil thing was this gold immortal goo? Two young masters, leave quickly. The other three old men were taken aback. They made up their minds as well. Nothing could happen to Lu Li and Gan Lin. If they could not buy some time, Lu Li and Gan Lin would not be able to leave. Gan Lin, retreat first. Lu Li bellowed. Dragon wings appeared on his back. He stepped on the unfettered steps and dashed down like a streak of lightning. His ring glowed as the divine iron appeared. Divine energy was drained away in an instant. A surge of horrifying energy emerged, covering an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. This is... Zwichio Kuei and the others had never been to the second heaven. The secret treasures taken out by Gan Lin and the others shocked them greatly. At this moment, when Lu Li took out the divine iron, the boundless energy made everyone feel as if the entire sky was pressing down on them. Even their souls were trembling. This energy, could it be a sacred weapon shard? The big brother looked at the divine iron that was getting closer and closer. Not only was he not afraid, but he was also burning up. He was a commander in the Five Poison sect. Although he had never seen such a secret treasure with his own eyes, he was experienced and knowledgeable. Naturally, he could guess some things. Dying. Lu Li swung the divine iron and smashed it at the old man's body. Rays of light twisted, and the old man's body was instantly minced into pieces, turning into a mist of blood. Huff! Huff! When the three old men saw this, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The abandoned disciple of the Five Poison sect was killed. This gold immortal goo would die as well, right? After all, the goo was refined by the big brother. How? Unexpectedly, the black silhouette made of countless goo insects in the air let out a long howl, then quickly flew up into the sky and swallowed the three old men. The three of them let out miserable cries. Soon, they turned into thick blood and were devoured by the gold immortal goo. Lin, who was in the air, was frightened. His eyes were filled with bewilderment. Why was the big brother killed, but this gold immortal goo was still alive? Hee hee. An eerie laughter rang out, and it was filled with mockery. Brat, do you think I'm dead just because you destroyed my body? You are too childish. Your body is not bad. I want it. This sacred weapon shard is also not bad. I will take care of it for you. Howl! The countless goo worms let out a loud howl again. They did not devour Lin. Instead, they turned around and charged towards Luli. Luli instinctively used Carefree Step to fly away. But he forgot one thing. He had no more divine power in his body. How could he use Carefree Step? Swish! The sky was filled with goo worms. Luli knew he could not escape. He could only grit his teeth and release a sky full of void worms to envelop himself. They were all worms. He wanted to see if his worms or the gold immortal goo was stronger. The normal void worms were easily devoured by the gold immortal goo. The dark gold void worms did not disappoint Luli. They actually started to devour the gold immortal goo. From a group of undead insects came a sound of surprise. Then a dark golden undead insect rushed over and devoured many dark golden undead insects. The dark golden undead insect flew to Luli's head and bit at it. This must be the Goo King. Luli locked on to this goo worm and activated the chaotic chi in his body. If the chaotic chi could not kill this Goo King, he would be the one to die. It is useless. When the chaotic chi engulfed the Goo King, Luli was shocked. The Goo King was not injured at all. It rushed to his head and bit him. Then it drilled into his head. Ha ha! An eerie laughter resounded. Boss's voice directly entered Luli's soul. This golden immortal goo of mine has been refined for 100,000 years. It has devoured countless heavenly treasures. How can mere chaotic chi kill it? Kid, your body is not bad. I will take it. Luli was scared out of his wits. The old man's soul was obviously hidden in the Goo King. Now that the Goo King was in his head, it would devour his soul very soon. He did not need to think about what would happen next. The old man's soul entered his body. His body would belong to the old man from now on. Buzz, right at this moment, Luli's soul shone with bright silver light. A dragon's soul flew out of his soul and shot into the Goo King. Chapter 2107. Along with a miserable scream of fear and unwillingness, the entire world seemed to have quieted down. The dark Goo King stayed in Luli's head and didn't move. The other goo worms around him didn't move as if they had become stupid. Whoosh, 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 Luli's worms of the void did not stop. They devoured the worms quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the countless worms were devoured by the dark golden worm. Luli himself was stunned for the time for several breaths. After a moment, he checked himself and was relieved to make sure that the king of venomous worms was not moving and the dragon soul had returned to his soul. At the same time, he realized he had a spiritual connection with the king of venomous worms. He remembered the worms of the void. Back then, the worms of the void were tamed by the dragon's soul. It seemed that the soul of the king of venomous worms had been devoured by the dragon's soul. Was the danger over? 8th or 9th rank enchanted soul. Luli frowned. Back then, Emperor Z also said that the enchanted soul was above the 7th rank. How could an abandoned disciple of the Five Poisons sect be so sure that it was of the 8th or 9th rank? Thinking of Emperor Z, Luli was relieved again. Back then, Emperor Z's remnant soul tried to take over his body but was devoured by the dragon's soul. How could an abandoned disciple of the Five Poisons sect want to take over his body? What a daydream. Phew, he controlled the king of venomous worms, and it flew out of his head. He then opened his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. There was a hole in his head. He took some healing pellets and checked the surroundings with psychic power. *T stop. Luli noticed that the worms outside were almost all devoured by the dark golden worms of the void. He ordered the worms of the void at once. Those worms seemed to be strong. They used to be enemies, but now he could control them. Unfortunately, his order came too late. There were many dark golden worms of the void, and they were fast. In the blink of an eye, all the worms were devoured except for the king of venomous worms. Never mind, never mind. Luli sighed. The king of venomous worms was the best. As long as it was not devoured, everything would be fine. Luli swallowed with lingering fear. If it were not for the dragon's soul, he would have died. Gonlin saw that all the worms were devoured, and Luli was standing in the palace unharmed. He blinked and asked, "Luli, what is it?" "Everything's fine now." Luli looked up at Gonlin and said, "I have killed that old devil, and the insect is gone as well." While they were talking, Luli noticed that the dark golden worms of the void suddenly glowed in a golden light. Layers of golden cocoons appeared around them. All the dark golden worms of the void stopped moving. They were all trapped in the cocoons. "It has evolved." Luli was delighted. The dark golden worms of the void had all evolved. Originally, these insects could already bite and kill third tribulation martial artists. How terrifying would they become after evolving again? Luli put all the worms of the void back into the mountain, including the king of venomous worms. He flew up, cupped his fist to Gonlin, and said, "It is all my fault. I have implicated Patriarch He and the other three. I will apologize to Lord Demon of Axe. You can't be blamed for this." Gonlin waved his hand and said, "Who knew that this five poisons sect abandoned disciple is so formidable? I'm also at fault. I should have gone back to ask my grandfather for help. Luli, don't blame yourself. I will ask my grandpa to compensate Patriarchy's family." Buzzing, Luli took out 4 elixirs, handed them to Gonlin, and said, "Here are 4 elixirs. If you sell them, you can get a lot of divine origin gold. Compensate Patriarch his family for me." "That is too valuable." Gonlin was stunned. Then he shook his head and said, "The Omen Island has its rules. Patriarch He and the other 4 work for my grandpa, and they are warriors of the Omen Island. They are here on a mission. Since they died in an accident, the Omen Island will compensate them. These elixirs are hard to come by, and they are priceless. Keep them for yourself. Take them." Luli threw them to Gonlin stubbornly. Then he cupped his fists and said, "Brother Gon, please keep that piece of divine iron a secret for me. Don't tell anyone apart from your grandpa. Well, your grandpa will know." "I know what to do." Gonlin nodded. He glanced over to Zwichio Kuei and the others at the edge of the city. Zwichio Kuei and the others trembled in fear. Zwichio Kuei and the others saw that Luli and the others were about to die. In the blink of an eye, the tables were turned. Should they sneak attack or run? But the world was so big. Where could they run to? Plop! Zwichio Kuei and the others chose to kneel and surrender. The 5 lords of the 5 poison sect were so powerful, but they were all killed by Luli. It was not a shameful thing to become Luli's slaves. Buzzing, before they could say anything, a stamp flew up and smashed down with horrifying energy. The dozens of people couldn't run away, even if they wanted to. They were all crushed into pieces. "Okay." Gonlin nodded. The fact that Luli had a holy weapon shard could not be spread out. Not just those at the 2nd heaven, even those at the 3rd heaven would want to snatch it. There was no one alive in the city. Almost all the powerful warriors of the Space-Time Office were here. The leaders of the Pavilion of Mystery and the Hall of Life and Death, and some patriarchs were here as well. After this battle, there would be no more powerful warriors in the divinity. Gonlin, Luli thought about it, and asked, "The force behind the Space-Time Office is the Hall of Black Flames. The Pavilion of Mystery and the Hall of Life and Death are all supported by other forces. If I unify the divinity, will I offend those forces? What's the big deal?" Gonlin sneered. "Those forces don't care about a small divinity. What is more, if several forces occupy the divinity at the same time, the other forces will not gain much. I will send someone to talk to the other forces." I don't think they will mind. They are afraid that you will make trouble for them. That's good. Luli was relieved. Then I will send you to the land of Yuyin first. Teleport back to the Omen Island and report to Lord Axe. I will have to stay here for a couple of months to clean up the divinity. Sure. Gonlin must go back and report the death of Patriarch He and the other patriarchs, as well as the abandoned disciples of the Five Poisons sect. Now that the divinity was settled, it was time for Gonlin to go back. Luli took Gonlin with him and flew away. At the Yao King city, he teleported back to the city of Yin with Pan Yuqin and Ling Qingyan. The teleportation altar was activated to send Gonlin back. Luli did not explain too much about the divinity. He only told Ling Qingyan to prepare an army to conquer the entire divinity. Ling Qingyan and Pan Yuqin were overjoyed. Was the biggest wish of disciples of the 10 immortal king families coming true? There were other powerful warriors of the craftsman's sect. Luli left them to Ling Qingyan and the others. He told them to try to take over the craftsman's sect in a peaceful way. If Luo Huang wanted to fight back, then Luli would leave the craftsman's sect alone. After all, he had some connection with the craftsman's sect. Yuqin. Chapter 21:08. Luli was most worried about his family and friends at the second heaven, as well as Little White. Given his current abilities, Little White was no longer of any use to him. But to him, Little White was different from other pets. Little White was more like a younger brother. He did not have the time to ask before. Now that the divinity was stabilized, he didn't have to worry too much. Naturally, he would ask about Little White at once. Little White. Pan Yuqin frowned and asked, "Isn't Little White always with you?" Pan Yuqin knew about Little White. Back in the days, this spiritual beast was strong. Its teeth could bite many powerful warriors to death. This little beast was adorable. Pan Yuqin remembered it well. Luli's mind was weighed down. When young Master Yin and Uncle Li came down to the divinity, Luli left Little White in the heaven's tribulation and told it to consume thunderbolts to cultivate. It had been so many years. Was Little White still in the heaven's tribulation? Little White was so strong. If it were in the divinity or the land of serenity, Pan Yuqin would know. Little White must still be cultivating. With Pan Yuqin's confirmation, Luli didn't even have the time to chat with Bai Qiuxue and Jiang Qiling. He flew to the space where he parted with Little White. The heaven's tribulation in the divinity posed no pressure to Luli. He dashed into the heaven's tribulation easily. As he flew in the sky, tens of thousands of thunderbolts struck down. The thunderbolts here were weak. Even Luli's physical body could stand it, not to mention the lightning gathering formation. He released his dragon wings and flew to the place where he parted with Little White. Luli was fast. The divinity was vast, but for Luli, it was a small place. In half a day, he had arrived at the place where he parted with Little White. No, he circled the area, but did not find Little White. His heart sank slightly. Then, he flew around to expand his search range. 300,000 miles, 3 million miles, hundreds of millions. Luli's mind was clouded over. He had been searching for hours, but Little White was nowhere to be found. Little White was naughty, but it would not run around. The heaven's tribulation was the same everywhere. Little White would not fly around for no reason. Did it go to the divinity to find me? Let's go take a look at the divine world. Luli flew toward the divinity and searched along the way. Given his speed, it would only take him a month or two to search the entire sky of the divinity. Little White was too important to him. Even if he had to spend a month or two, he would still search for it. Half a month later, the land of Yuyin was in an uproar. Luli had suddenly left and disappeared for half a month. This inevitably caused everyone to worry. 20 days later, from the divinity, Jian Shalai sent an order from Luli. Luli asked Jian Shalai to tell them not to worry about him. He was cultivating in the heaven's tribulation, and they should stick to their original plan. Ling Qingyan and the others were relieved. She had already recovered from her injuries. She immediately led the army to attack the divinity realm. As for the divinity, it was a mess. The death of Zhuqiuquei and the others, and the return of Lu Li had thrown the divinity into a state of panic. The leaders of countless forces gathered in Artisan City and asked the Artisan sect to contact the upper world and send people down to stabilize the situation. Otherwise, the immortal world would be annexed by the land of Yuyan. Luo Huang did not meet with anyone, nor did he send out any messages. It was as if he did not care about this matter at all. The land of Yuyan mobilized an army of 1 million. Apart from Pan Yuqin, almost all the other powerful warriors were mobilized. In merely 3 days, the North River Prefecture was breached. The chief of the North River Prefecture and several patriarchs were killed. The others surrendered. Then, the army divided into 3 groups and attacked 3 prefectures. Several days later, 3 prefectures nearby were conquered. One prefecture did not even have to fight. It just opened its gate and surrendered, unstoppable. The divinity had already suffered a great loss. After the demons ravaged the divinity, only 2 out of 10 powerful warriors survived. Later, Lu Li killed a group of them. This time, Space-Time Office killed another group. The divinity had too few powerful warriors. What mattered most was morale. It had been a long time since Lu Li killed the powerful warriors of the 3 forces. The upper world did not send any warriors down. The forces in the divinity had lost all hope. Who dared to stop Lu Li's army? The surrender of one prefecture master had caused a chain reaction. Wherever the 3 armies went, many prefecture masters would open their gates and surrender. If any prefecture refused to surrender, Ling Qinyan would teleport over in person and kill the prefecture master. 1 month, the 3 armies conquered over 100 prefectures. Over half of the prefectures at the north of the divinity were conquered. The army from the land of Yuyan had arrived at the craftsman's city as well. The entire divinity was paying attention. If the craftsman's sect could not stand it, then the divinity would have a new master. When the entire divinity thought that a war was about to break out, the gates of the craftsman's city were opened. Luo Huang came out with a group of patriarchs and surrendered. What? The news spread like snowflakes across the entire divine world. The prefecture masters of the nearby prefectures completely gave up and surrendered, not even waiting for the army to arrive. Lu Li no longer felt any pressure to unify the divinity. At this rate, in a month or 2, the entire divinity would belong to Lu Li. It had been 1,000,000 years. Finally, the divinity was going to be changed. A powerful warrior came out from nowhere, defeated the 4 legendary forces, and unified the divinity. However, what made people curious was that Lu Li never showed up after the army set off. Even when the craftsman's sect surrendered, Lu Li did not come out. Luo Huang was disappointed that day. Lu Li was still in the heavens tribulation. He was still searching. He had almost searched the entire sky and the divinity, but Little White was nowhere to be found. His heart was weighed down. Little White might have gone missing again. The little beast had gone missing several times. Though it was found each time, it was different this time. The divinity was only so big. It had been so many years. Little White was so powerful. Whenever it showed up, there would be news. There must be some news about it. Lu Li did not give up. He kept on searching. Another month passed. Over half of the prefectures in the divinity had been conquered or surrendered. Many cities had put up flags with the word Lu. Lu Li's unification of the divinity was irreversible. Lu Li came down today. He had searched almost everywhere in the sky. Little White should not be there anymore. Lu Li went to the divinity directly and found Ling Qinyan. For the first time, he gave out an order. He asked everyone in the divinity and the land of Yuyan to search for Little White. Anyone who found it would be rewarded handsomely. This was the first time Lu Li showed up and gave out an order after the war. It was to find a beast. What did it mean? It meant that Lu Li did not think much of the divinity. For him, unifying the divinity was not a difficult task. He did not care about the divinity. The divinity was not as important as the beast. As Lu Li gave out his order, more than 100 prefectures surrendered on the same day. Lu Li's appearance was too powerful. Those people had wanted to put up a last-ditch struggle. However, They gave up when Luli showed up. The entire divinity was stirred up. Many warriors went into the mountains and wastelands to search for Little White. Chapter 2109. Another month passed, and the immortal world was finally unified. The leaders of all the major forces gathered in the land of Yuyin to witness the birth of an empire. The Shenwu Empire. The name was given by Lu Li. Since it was Lu Li, no one had any objections. What shocked the entire divinity was that the emperor of the empire of godly prowess was not Lu Li, but Ling Qingyan. Many in the divinity could not understand. If Lu Li did not become the emperor, what was the point of unifying the divinity? In fact, Lu Li did not think there was much point in unifying the divine realm either. This was because he was prepared to bring the Lu clan's people to the Sky Cloud Mountain. There were no natural treasures in the divine world. As for the reserve of talents, he was not prepared to build a big force to dominate the second heaven. Why would he need a reserve of talents? The reason why he unified the realm of the gods was because he didn't want to see a repeat of last time's incident. It was also an explanation to Ling Qingyan and Pan Yuqin. There were no more experts in the divine world, so unifying the divine world would be a very simple matter. As for the position of emperor, if Lu Li had not gone to the second heaven, he might be interested. But after going to the second heaven, the position of the emperor of the god world, in his eyes, was no different from being the king of a mountain. At the end of the day, strength was the most important thing in this world. If one did not have strength, it would be meaningless for one to proclaim themselves as a third heaven great emperor. If one had absolute strength, even a third heaven supreme arch would have to be polite to you even if you had no status. Ling Qingyan did not want to go to the second heaven, at least not for the time being. After Lu Li asked for her opinion, the throne was given to her. On the surface, Ling Qingyan was not her woman, but people with discerning eyes could see that Ling Qingyan had a close relationship with her. There was no secret affair. Even Bai Xiaoshuang did not believe it. Fortunately, Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue, and Bai Xiaoshuang didn't mind. As long as Lu Li still loved them and thought about them, they were content. Of course, it would be a lie to say that the three of them didn't have any thoughts. Lu Li was troubled. Naturally, it was because of Little White. So many people in the divinity had been searching all over the divinity. Little White was nowhere to be found. In fact, no one had seen Whitey all these years. Could it be that expert? Lu Li remembered that Little White was once taken to the land of Yuyin by a powerful warrior. Could it be that Little White was taken away by that mysterious expert again? But where could he take it? The second heaven had never heard any news about Little White. Let's go to the Silver Dragon Mountain. Another thing came to Lu Li's mind. When he went to the Mountain of Dragons, the old warrior there told him that he could go to the Mountain of Dragons after he reached the divinity. Now that he was so strong, could he go up Mount Silver Dragon? Lu Li cared a lot about the Mountain of Dragons, and Lu Li left the manor after a short conversation with Jiang Qiling and the others. He flew across the void. It only took him a little more than a day to arrive at Mount Silver Dragon. This mountain was very mysterious, and the people of the Silver Dragon Mountain were also very strange. Normally, they would not come out into the world, and they would not ask about the matters of the God world. Occasionally, they would send young disciples to the God world for training. Even when the fiend devils invaded the God world and slaughtered billions upon billions of humans, the people from Mount Silver Dragon didn't show up, and neither did the fiend devils. Looking at the mountain that reached into the clouds and the mountain path that spiraled upwards like a huge dragon, Lu Li walked up with determination. As soon as he set foot on the mountain, gravity appeared, but it wasn't a problem for Lu Li. He climbed up the stairs easily. In the time for half an incense stick to burn, he had reached the peak. The peak was shrouded in mist. Lu Li could see many palaces, but they were deserted. He used psychic power to check, but found no one. "You have come after all." A hoarse voice came, which startled Lu Li. He used psychic power to check a castle. That castle was covered in obscure patterns that he did not notice. He walked to the castle, bowed and said, "Nice to meet you, sir. Come in." The gate opened automatically. Luli walked in after a pause. The palace was not spacious. There was an old man with fiery red hair inside. His hair reached the ground, and his eyelids were drooping. He seemed to be very old. Well, Luli used the trace of Tao to check. He could not sense the old man's chi and energy, nor could he tell his realm. Luli was taken aback. This old man was unfathomable. He must be powerful. Luli bowed again. Seeing that the old man had no intention to talk, Luli said, "I am here to see young Lady Lu." "Young lady is back." The old man didn't open his eyes. He sighed and said, "If you were here 7 or 8 years ago, you might be able to see her. Something happened in the family. Young lady has been called back urgently." Back 7 or 8 years ago. Luli was disappointed. He didn't want to come here 7 or 8 years ago. The thing was, he didn't have the time or the chance. He had been fighting demons. As soon as the demons were driven out, Zhuqiu Lu and the others were stirring up trouble again. Then, warriors of the Hall of Black Flames came down, and he was forced to go to the second heaven. But since this old man was willing to see him and talk, Luli felt a glimmer of hope. He asked, "Sir, is young Lady Lu from the Dragon Rebel Valley at the third heaven?" If that was the case, then this Lu Ling would be his sister for sure. If he went back to the Dragon Rebel Valley, he could go there to exchange for a scroll for the Demon King. Yes and no. The red-haired old man's words confused Lu Li. What kind of answer was that? The old man opened his eyes at this moment. He looked at Lu Li and said after a moment of silence, "Lu Li, you have made great progress over the years. But my young lady and you are from 2 different worlds. You should forget about her. Or else, not only will you get yourself into trouble, you will get her into trouble as well." Eh? Lu Li was shocked. He didn't expect that the old man would say these things to him. Also, the old man had revealed some important information. This Lu Ling was his sister. She came from a powerful family, and her family didn't want Lu Li to pester her. Lu Li had received 3 pieces of information. He could tell from the old man's words that Lu Ling's family was more powerful than he had imagined. It was as if they were from 2 different worlds. But Lu Li was confused. He felt it was unfair and said, "Sir, I don't understand. Lu Ling is my sister. Why would I hurt myself and her when I look for my sister? I know my sister comes from a big force, and I don't want to cling to your family. I just want to see her. If she is living a good life, I will not ruin her life." "You still don't understand." The red-haired old man looked at Lu Li and pondered for a while with his eyebrows knitted together. Eventually, he explained, "Let me tell you this. There's a phoenix that grew up in a chicken coop because of an accident. One day, she awakened and was brought back to her own kind. Now, all her friends are phoenixes, real dragons in Kylan. Do you think if the fact that she grew up in a chicken coop is made known, will it be good for her? Do you think the family of phoenixes will be happy if the chicks in the chicken coop go and play with her from time to time?" Ha ha. The red-haired old man's analogy was vivid and sarcastic. Lu Li put on a smile of self-mockery. No matter how hard he tried and how powerful he became, he was still a nonentity in the eyes of the Lu Ling's family. Chapter 21:10. Lu Li knew that Lu Ling's family was powerful. An ancient family at the third heaven must be impressive. But what about a big family? Did they have to control who their own disciples made friends with? Was it shameful for Lu Ling to have a brother like him? Lu Li was well aware of the gap between him and the talented disciples at the third heaven. That being said, he was confident that if disciples from families at the third heaven were to compete with him at the heaven reverse universe, he would not lose. The story of the phoenix and the chicken was ironic, but the old man was overthinking it. He would not pester Lu Ling all the time, nor would he see connections with her family. He just wanted to see her and see if she was doing well. Lu Li remembered when he and Lu Ling depended on each other, and she suffered so much to take care of him. He remembered how Lu Ling crawled back from the back of the mountain, covered in blood. He remembered how Lu Ling had turned into a snowman, waiting for him outside the tribe when he went to carry coffins. He remembered how Lu Ling burned herself in flames to save him. Plop. Lu Li dropped to his knees. He He was not a man who liked to kneel to others, but this time he did it without hesitation. He bowed 3 times and said, "Senior, I won't pester my sister, nor will I try to curry favor with your family, and I won't bring trouble to my sister. I just want to see her, even if it's just a secret meeting." Alas, the red-haired old man sighed. He didn't answer Luli at once. Instead, he closed his eyes to think. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, he waved his hand and said, "Go back. I cannot help you. If you want to see her, go to the 3rd heaven. Her name is Dragon Rebel Antelope." Dragon Rebel Antelope? Luli was surprised. Then his eyes glowed. It seemed that Lu Ling was from the Dragon Rebel Valley. But he didn't know that the family name of this ancient family was Dragon Rebel. "There are some things you must remember." The red-haired old man said, "Young lady's memory is sealed, so she doesn't know you. You cannot reunite with her rashly. Otherwise, if you affect her cultivation, the Hall of Penalty will come after you. By then, you will die even if young lady is with you. Don't doubt this. Our family rules are very strict. Secondly, don't tell anyone about what happened to the young Mississippi. If someone from my clan hears about it, you'll definitely die. Even your Lu clan will be finished. On the 3rd day, don't bother Mississippi. It will only bring you harm." With that said, the red-haired old man waved his hand. Luli felt a surge of horrifying chi and energy spreading out from the old man. Then Luli felt his vision blurred, and he found himself at the foot of the Mountain of Dragons. Hiss, hiss, even though Luli knew the old man was powerful, he didn't expect him to be this powerful. At that moment, Luli felt he was fighting against Yun Shueishue. And with a wave of the elder's hand, he was teleported out. What kind of heaven-defying divine ability was this? The old man's display of this move was clearly a warning. How high could the status of an expert in the divine realm be in the Dragon Rebel Valley? If he were a patriarch, how could he still be here after Lu Ling left? In other words, it was highly likely that the old man was just an ordinary clansman in the Dragon Rebel Valley. An ordinary clansman has the combat strength of a 4th Tribulation Eminence. How terrifying would the strength of the entire Dragon Rebel Valley be? Phoenixes and chickens. Luli put on a mocking smile again. He and the people of the Dragon Rebel Valley were not from the same world. The 2nd heaven was just a well, but the 3rd heaven was the real world. The 4th and 5th heaven have collapsed. All the powerful warriors have been relocated to the 3rd heaven. Luli remembered the rumor he heard. He became even more solemn. The 3rd heaven should be the center of the entire world. All the powerful warriors were gathered there. That was where the real graveyard of the powerful warriors was. He stood up, but didn't leave. Instead, he was in a daze. Even though he didn't achieve his goal on this trip to the Mountain of Dragons, and he suffered a setback, he did learn a lot of useful information. To see Lu Ling, he must go to the 3rd heaven. Lu Ling's family was powerful beyond his imagination. Also, the rules of the family were strict. Therefore, even if he could go to the 3rd heaven and have the chance to see Lu Ling, he could only look at her from a distance. He could not talk to her or acknowledge her. "It will be enough if I can see her and know that she is doing well." Luli nodded. He and Lu Ling belonged to 2 different worlds. As long as she was doing well, then there was no need to disturb her peaceful life. Of course, if Lu Ling was not doing well, then he would take her with him at the risk of his life. He would fight his way out even if all the people of the Dragon Rebel Valley were to stop him. Let's go back. The Mountain of Dragons was meaningless now. Luli flew away. Back at the King Pan City, Luli went to his room alone, feeling down. Peak of the 3rd Tribulation. The Devil King once said that if one's comprehensive abilities were not at the peak of the 3rd Tribulation, there was a high chance that he would die in the 3rd heaven. He was only at the 2nd Tribulation realm. Given his strong body, his comprehensive abilities could be compared to those of the 3rd Tribulation. Taking into account the primordial chaos energy and the divine iron, he could be compared to those at the peak of the 3rd Tribulation. But he was running out of primordial chaos energy. He would run out of it. The divine iron could only be used once at a time. Even if his elixir was enlarged, it could still drain his divine energy. Therefore, The primordial chaos energy and the divine iron could not be counted as his normal abilities. Then there were the worms of the void and the Goo King. Right, the worms of the void. Luli used psychic power to check. He was delighted. The worms of the void had evolved. All of them had turned dark, similar to the Goo King's color, but in appearance. I wonder how strong the evolved worms of the void are. Luli frowned. The ferocious beasts in the divinity were too weak to find out the worms of the void's strength. The Goo King's abilities could not be tested either. He would have to wait and see when he returned to the second heaven. I should continue to cultivate my body. Luli had made up his mind. He must consume the rest of the marrow and continue to cultivate the skill of bone refinement. Also, he could go to the second heaven to search for some materials for body refinement. He could go to the secret realm of primordial chaos as well. But he was not sure if he could go there after what happened last time. Creak, the door was pushed open. Jiang Qiling walked in. Seeing Luli sitting on the bed with his legs crossed, she frowned. She walked over and rubbed his shoulders. Qiling. Luli gathered his thoughts and hugged Jiang Qiling. He felt guilty about his 3 wives. He asked with a smile, "What is it?" "Yes." Jiang Qiling nodded and asked with a smile, "Things in the divinity have settled down. Don't worry about finding Little White. So many people are looking. I believe there will be good news. I don't have much to do these days. Do you think we should take care of Shi-Er and Prajna and Yuqin?" Luli was surprised. He could understand Shi-Er and Prajna, but he was confused about Pan Yuqin. Ha. Jiang Qiling laughed. "Darling, you don't have to hide it from me. Even passers-by can tell how much Lady Qin loves you, not to mention us. We have thought about it and decided to pick a good day to marry the 3 of them and let them be your concubines." Concubines? Luli was intrigued. He had 3 wives, and he was going to marry more concubines. Including Ling Qingyan, he would have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Chapter 2111. Qi had long since become his woman. Marrying her was just a formality. Henya had waited for him for many years and would probably be happy to hear this news. As for Pan Yuqin, Luli was having a headache. After all, she was a concubine. This identity was a little awkward. Although a wife was inferior to a concubine, and a concubine was inferior. But after all, his identity was 1 level lower than his wife. Would Pan Yuqin be dissatisfied? Would she be unhappy? If the harem was in a mess, Luli would have a headache. Luli once promised Jiang Qiling and the twins that he would only have them as his official wives. Therefore, unless Luli broke his promise, Pan Yuqin and even Ling Qingyan could only be his concubines. "We'll deal with Shi-Er and Bo Ri. You could talk to Miss Qin." Jiang Qiling seemed to have read Li's mind. She added with a gentle smile, "Darling, have you forgotten what we said?" Clearly, Jiang Qiling, by Qiu Shue, and by Xia Shuang were united. Luli could understand that. The 3 of them were from the mortal world. They had neither status nor power. If they could not establish themselves as Luli's wives, they would be suppressed by other women of Luli's. The 3 of them had seen through Luli's character. Once he went to a place, he would fall in love. On top of that, Luli was soft-hearted towards women. Perhaps there would be more sisters in the future. Since that was the case, if they did not set the rules now, there would be no place for them in the Lu family in the future. Just like Pan Yuqin, this was the Coiling King, who controlled a powerful clan. Once the God world was unified, her position in the God world would be very high. She would be in control of many people and resources. Jiang Qiling and the other 2 came from the mortal world. The Lu family, the Zhang family, and the Bai family didn't have any powerful warriors, let alone influential ones. Jiang Qiling and the twins were generous, but it didn't mean that they didn't have other thoughts. Luli could understand, and he felt guilty. He thought about it, patted her shoulder, and said, "Just as you said, I will go find Yuqin." Luli walked out of the room, walked in circles, and arrived at a castle. Inside the castle, Pan Yuqin was talking to a few people. It was about the God world. Pan Yuqin was in charge of the intelligence of the entire God world. Naturally, She had a lot of things to do. You may leave. Pan Yuqin stood up as Luli came in. Luli glanced at her. Many years had passed, but Pan Yuqin was not much different from when Luli first met her. The only difference was that she was more mature and more feminine. Why are you looking at me like that? Seeing that Luli was staring at her, Pan Yuqin blushed. She poured him a cup of tea and handed it over. She said, "What do you want from me? Don't worry about Little White's matter. I've already sent more people to investigate the various dangerous places. It's not about Little White." Luli took a sip of tea, looked at her with bright eyes, and said, "Let's talk about you now." "About me?" Pan Yuqin was startled, and then her face and ears turned red. Usually, she wouldn't bat an eyelid, even if Mount Tai was pressing down on her, but now she felt a little shy. She lowered her head for a moment before gathering her courage and saying, "What about me? I want to marry you." Luli went straight to the point, "But I promised Qiling and Xiuxue that I can only have 3 wives. So, you have to suffer." "Who said I want to marry you?" Pan Yuqin glared at Luli and said, "You want me to be your concubine? You must be dreaming." Luli was troubled. Pan Yuqin really didn't want to marry him. But if he insisted on giving her the status of a wife, Jiang Qiling and the other 2 would say no. In the future, there would be a fight in the harem. Seeing that Luli was frowning, Pan Yuqin smiled. Then she said with a straight face, "Lord Lu, if there is nothing else, I have to go." "Yuqin." Luli sighed. He was about to say something, but decided against it. He shook his head and walked out with a sigh. A glint of cunning rose in Pan Yuqin's eyes. She said, "Lord Lu, we can talk about it. If you don't have to spend the night with your 3 wives, you can come and find me. I will talk to you." "Okay." Luli nodded. He had been with Jiang Qiling and the other 2 wives for a long time. He wouldn't be angry if he didn't spend a night with them. Luli went back to closed-door cultivation. He didn't want to talk to Jiang Qiling either. At midnight, he came out from the castle and arrived at Pan Yuqin's castle. Pan Yuqin was not in the main hall. She was in a side chamber. As soon as Luli entered the side chamber, a ray of light flew over. The inhibition formation in the side chamber was closed. Luli's eyes glowed as he took a look. The side chamber was decorated. In the corner was a large bathing pool. Steam and the fragrance of petals were still rising from the bathing pool. In the middle of the room was a bed covered by a pink veil. Inside the veil, a lady was lying on her side. Luli could see her graceful figure. "Luli," Pan Yuqin said in a gentle voice, "come in." Luli was a bit nervous. He walked to the bed and lifted the veil. He saw a beautiful face. Clearly, Pan Yuqin had dressed herself up. She was already a beautiful lady, and now she was even more gorgeous. Pan Yuqin's red lips were like fire. Her cheeks were blushing. She said softly, "Darling, I don't want a title. I cannot marry you. Master Pan cannot marry anyone. As long as I can be your woman, as long as you have me in your heart, then everything will be enough." Pan Yuqin had chosen the same path as Ling Qingyan. She had chosen to be Lu Li's mistress. She was Master Pan, and Ling Qingyan was Prince Yan. They were both proud. For them, titles were not important. What mattered was whether they could win Lu Li's heart. Luli didn't move. Feeling guilty, he shook his head and said, "How can I?" Suddenly, Pan Yuqin bent over and knelt on the bed. She hugged Luli with one hand and covered his mouth with the other. She said gently, "Let's not talk about unhappy things tonight. Let me have the best night, okay?" "Okay." Luli nodded. He picked up Pan Yuqin and said, "Then let me help you bathe first." Pan Yuqin's body softened. She grabbed Lu Li's hands and said shyly, "Darling, I have bathed. I don't want to bathe anymore." Ha. Luli laughed and said, "Either I do it for you or you do it for me. The choice is yours." Whoosh! Luli flew up and landed in the pond, causing water to splash around. Pan Yuqin's robe was soaked in the water, which made her body even more exquisite. With her hair sticking to her face, she looked even more enchanting. Seeing how Luli was staring at her like a hungry wolf, Pan Yuqin was too shy to keep her eyes open. She untied Lu Li's robe with trembling hands and said, "Then let me help you." Splash, splash. Chapter 21:12. He had 2 new concubines and 1 more lover. He didn't have to worry about being hunted down or people plotting against his family. He could reunite with his family every day and give some advice to the young ones. If it were not for the fact that Little White was missing and he didn't know how Lu Ling was doing, such a life would be perfect. It was the life Lu Li had been longing for. Gan Lin went down again with a group of people. They had begun to build the teleportation altar to connect to Cloud Mountain. Many people of the Lu family were against the idea of going to the second heaven. After all, they had just become familiar with the divinity, and now they were in a new place. However, after they heard that many people at the second heaven could become immortals easily, they no longer had any objections. Chishir was more cheerful recently. As long as Luli came back, she would put on a beautiful smile. Prajna had changed from a beautiful little nun to a mature and beautiful woman. Luli had a small barrier in his heart, but after staying in Prajna's room for several nights, he changed his mind. The little nun had turned into a beauty, beautiful and mature. Luo Huang came to the king of Yin, asking to see Luli. But Luli did not see her. He and Luo Huang had some history which was ruined by the craftsman's sect. If it were not for the death of the former master, the craftsman's sect would have been destroyed by Lu Li. The ones going to the second heaven were decided. Most of the Lu family and some outstanding disciples of the Ling family and Pan family were going as well. Ling Qingyin and Pan Yuqin did not choose to go. They were proud people since they insisted on not marrying into the Lu family. After all, there was the teleportation altar. Luli could come back every now and then. Maybe, when they were bored of the divinity, they would go to the second heaven. 3 months later, the divinity was pacified. Luli began to teleport with the others. Of course, some children stayed in the divinity. Their souls were too weak. Teleportation by force would collapse their souls. Buzzing at the top of Cloud Mountain, a huge teleportation altar glowed. The first group of people came. Luli appeared at the peak of Cloud Mountain with dozens of people. Patriarch Chun had been waiting here with respect. When he saw Lu Li and the others, he knelt down and saluted. "Greetings, Lord Lu." "Greetings, my lords." Everyone was kneeling outside the teleportation altar. Uncle Li was here, as well as many other experts of the Sky Cloud Mountain. Lu Jingyang, Lu Ren Huang, and the others sensed that the hundreds kneeling in front of them were all unfathomably powerful. Their energy was as strong as dragons and elephants. Lu Jingyang and Lu Ren Huang were shocked. "All of you get up. Other than Elder Chun and a few others, the rest can disperse." Lu Li waved his hand casually. The warriors bowed again and left. Many looked at Lu Li with mixed feelings. Several years ago, when Lu Li came to the Cloud Mountain, some people laughed at him, especially when Lu Li went to the Tower of Demon Subduing. Some even bet that Lu Li could not survive for more than 3 to 5 days. In less than 10 years, Lu Li had become the master of the Cloud Mountain, their leader. It was a shocking development. Most importantly, they recognized Lu Li as their leader. Lu Li had killed Long Shitian, Yun Kaiwei, and Yun Zhantian. Patriarch Chun exclaimed the most. He had watched Lu Li grow up bit by bit. He had foreseen that Lu Li would have a promising future, so he had been on good terms with Lu Li. That being said, Patriarch Chun did not expect that Lu Li would become the master of the Cloud Mountain, just like how he didn't expect Fairy Tianyan to be the demon. Well, there was also Lady. This was something Patriarch Chun was proud of. Could an average person have the right to chat with the demon for so many times? Could they serve the demon for so many years? Since Patriarch Chun was an old friend, Lu Li did not stand on ceremony with him. He waved his hand and asked Patriarch Chun to make arrangements. There were many castles at the peak of the Cloud Mountain. Now, more castles were built. It would not be difficult for tens of thousands of people to live there. Of course, Lu Li did not want everyone to live at the peak of the Cloud Mountain. Apart from the core disciples, the others would live at the periphery. Those who wanted to live at the peak of the cloud mountain would have to follow the rules set by the demon. There were different levels of ID tokens at the cloud mountain. Those who wanted a higher status and better accommodations would have to go to the Tower of Demons Subduing. Luli planned to continue this tradition, which was a good way to train powerful warriors. In addition, Lu Li, Lu Zhengyang, and Lu Renwang had a discussion and set down rules. The family rules of the Lu family would be stricter. Anyone who dared to abuse others in the name of the Lu family would be severely punished. There were many people living in Sky Cloud Mountain, and with so many people from the Lu clan, if some good-for-nothing young masters were to abuse their power all day long, it would anger the original subordinates and cause them to be alienated. This would be extremely detrimental to the development of the Lu clan. More people were teleported here. As soon as they arrived, they felt they were in a fairyland. The smell here was so pleasant that they felt they could float on the clouds and ascend to heaven just by taking a few breaths. After a few days of settling down, the Lu family had all settled down. Lu Li went to the Asmodean city and apologized to the Axe Demon. The death of Patriarch he and the other three made Lu Li feel guilty. Fortunately, the Axe Demon had compensated him, which made him feel better. Lu Li went to see the demon as well. But the demon was in closed-door cultivation. Lu Li had to go back to the Cloud Mountain. After 2 days at the Cloud Mountain, Lu Li left the Asmodean island and went to the outside world. Things are different now. Lu Li could leave the island at will, and he didn't have to worry about assassinations. The demon had set down a rule that warriors over 1,000 years old could not attack him, and those under 1,000 years old were not at the peak of the third tribulation. Therefore, Lu Li was not afraid of assassinations. More importantly, the demon's prestige had reached the peak at the second heaven. He was almost a master of the second heaven. It had been a long time since the incident at the Island of Chaos, but nothing happened at the third heaven. Phoenix Queen was humiliated, but she didn't send someone down to seek revenge, not to mention coming in person. This surprised everyone at the second heaven. At the same time, they were more afraid of the demon. Could it be that the demon had a powerful backer at the third heaven? That backer had shown up, and that was why Phoenix Queen gave up? Apart from that, there was no other reason to explain why Phoenix Queen didn't seek revenge. The more important a person was, the more they valued their reputation. If a leader of a force of the second heaven sent an avatar to the first heaven and it was smashed by a nobody, it would be humiliated. Which leader of the second heaven would swallow this humiliation? But if a more powerful person at the second heaven said something, then the leader would have to swallow this humiliation. Therefore, Lu Li was absolutely safe at the second heaven. He could stand at the gate of the Saint Origin Hall of the Hall of Black Flame, and nobody would dare to kill him. Nobody would dare to touch him unless the demon was dead. Because of this, Lu Li flew out of the Asmodean island and into the sea. He needed to find some powerful beasts of primordial chaos. For one thing, he wanted to test the strength of the evolved worm of Void and the strength of the Goo King. For another, he wanted the worm of Void to split up. Chapter 21:13. Too weak. Above a vast ocean, a figure shot out, his face filled with disappointment. When he flew out, the seawater suddenly turned dark red, and there was a strong smell of blood. Because of the smell of blood, countless chaos beasts were attracted. Those chaos beasts gathered together and started killing each other. The 4-star chaos beast was instantly killed by the dark void worm. I can only look for the 5-star chaos beast. Lu Li murmured. He had a headache. 5-star chaos beasts were very rare. Jiang Yi had been searching the sea for several days and had only found a few 4-star chaos beasts. Let's continue searching. Lu Li thought about it and decided to fly to the east. The sea there was deeper, and there might be 5-star beasts of primordial chaos. A 3-star chaos beast was comparable to a second tribulation martial artist. A 4-star chaos beast was comparable to a third tribulation heaven god. A 5-star chaos beast was comparable to a third tribulation martial artist. Which ordinary person would go looking for a 5-star chaos beast for no reason? Even a 3 tribulation martial artist would flee if they encountered a 5-star chaos beast. This was because the chaos beast's physical bodies were too strong and their defenses were too perverse. Wouldn't they be asking for trouble if they fought with the chaos beasts? The black worm of void was clearly much stronger than the golden one, but Luli did not know how much stronger. He had to split the black worm of void, so he had to find a 5-star beast of chaos. Xiao. He quickly dived into the sea and went deep into the sea. There were many chaos beasts in the deep sea. However, Jiang, he was fast enough. He was not afraid of being surrounded by ordinary chaos beasts. Not long afterward, Luli ran into a powerful 4-star beast of primordial chaos. It was like a moving hill at the bottom of the sea, approaching him quickly. Xiao. Luli didn't want to start a fight with the 4-star beast of chaos. He left by using the happy steps. He was so fast that not even the 4-star beast of chaos could catch up with him. 3 or 4 days later, Luli finally encountered a 5-star beast of primordial chaos. The beast of primordial chaos was entrenched in a mountain at the bottom of the sea. If it didn't move, Luli would have thought it was a huge rock. More than a dozen huge water columns rushed out, and one of them hit Luli. Luli was smashed away and blood spilled out of his mouth. Before he could react, the world in front of him darkened. Then 2 huge pincers clamped down on him. The 2 huge pincers made Luli feel like they were some kind of weapon. Even though his physical body was already very strong, he would still be crushed into pieces if he was pinched by these pincers. Xiao. The wings on Luli's back burst open and 2 dragon wings appeared. He sped up and stepped back, narrowly escaping from the fatal strike. From Luli's mountain, many dark worms of the void flew out toward the huge mountain at the bottom of the ocean. Thousands of worms of the void entered the body of the 5-star beast of chaos. Streams of water sprayed out. That beast was still swinging its pincers. A huge underwater mountain nearby was smashed into pieces. Li's eyes glowed. The worms of the void were strong. They had begun to gnaw at the body of the 5-star beast of chaos. However, the speed of gnawing was slow. The body of the 5-star beast of chaos was too strong. It would take Luli more than half a day to finish it. Luli was confident. He thought about it and let out the dark king of venomous worms as well. This king of venomous worms was like a caterpillar, only the size of a ring finger. It was not eye-catching. The king of venomous worms could not turn incorporeal, but it was very fast. It turned into a beam of black light and arrived under the giant beast body. Then it bared its fangs and bit a small hole in the giant beast body. Luli was taken aback. The king of venomous worms was eating the beast of chaos much faster now. Also, when it was gnawing, it secreted a black liquid which spread quickly. Clearly, it was poisonous. Luckily, the abandoned disciples of the 5 Poison sect did not poison me. Luli was still scared. The leader of the abandoned disciples of the 5 Poison sect must have wanted to take over his body. Therefore, he did not let the king of venomous worms spit out the venom. Otherwise, Luli would be in big trouble. The worm of void and the king of venomous worms worked together. The beast was having a hard time. The beast was rolling around at the bottom of the sea in pain. The violent energy spread out. Luli dared not to get close. The water within a radius of 3,000 miles was tumbling. Many mountains at the bottom of the sea were flattened. It was a mess. It is splitting. After a small part of the beast's body was devoured, the worm of void began to split. However, the king of venomous worms did not split. It continued to eat, and nothing happened. King of venomous worms, come back. Since the 5-star beast of chaos could split the worm of void, Luli would not let it go to waste. He did not know much about this king of venomous worms. He would find some information later before he could train it. In the divinity, the abandoned disciples of the 5 Poison sect used corpses to refine insects. Luli would not do something so immoral. If he could not refine the insects, he would rather give up the king of venomous worms than go around looking for corpses. Since the worm of void was splitting, the beast felt better. It was not in so much pain for now. Since it could not attack the worm of void, the beast turned its attention to Lu Li and went after him. If Lu Li had used the relic iron, he could have smashed the beast to death. But he did not want to do that. He had to fly fast to increase the distance between them. When the beast stopped chasing him, he would turn around and come back. One day later, the worm of void finished splitting. The beast could not stand it anymore. It struggled for several hours before it died. After the worm of void consumed the beast's flesh, it split again. Putting away all the worms of void, Lu Li did not go on looking for 5-star beasts of chaos. He went back to the Omen Island. One 5-star beast of chaos could only make the worm of void split to tens of thousands. 5-star beasts of chaos were hard to find. When would it be possible to make the worm of void split into tens of millions? After the worm of void evolved, the average warriors at the later stage of the Third Tribulation should not be able to stand it. Lu Li was sure of this. The dark golden worm of void was already impressive. After the evolution, it should be even more powerful. The fact that 5-star beasts of chaos could eat the worm of void proved this. That being said, the powerful warriors at the peak of the Third Tribulation all had skills to protect themselves. Lu Li wondered if those skills could suppress the dark worm of void. Back at the Cloud Mountain, Lu Li found that Gan Lin was here with a letter. Lu Li asked with curiosity, "Who sent me this letter?" "An acquaintance of yours." Gan Lin said enviously, "Lu Li, you are lucky with women. The most beautiful girl on the list can't forget you. She even sent a letter. Is she interested in you?" Unrivaled? Lu Li was surprised. A pretty and delicate face popped up in his mind. Didn't Unrivaled leave? Why would she send him a letter? Lu Li didn't hide from Gan Lin. He opened the letter and glanced at it. Soon his eyes glowed. There was only one sentence in the letter: "I am leaving. If you want to find me, come to the Broken Sword Mountain in the third heaven." Unrivaled had gone back to the third heaven. Before she left behind an important clue. The Broken Sword Mountain in the third heaven. That was to say, Unrivaled's family was there, and so was Inxingxi. Lu Li had known for a long time that Inxingxi was not from the 9 universes. After all, the crippled Zen master was too powerful. The letter was proof that Inxingxi's family was powerful. She must be an ancient family in the third heaven. Chapter 21:14. Lu Li could not figure out what happened to Inxingxi. He thought of someone from Unrivaled, the old man of Azura. Back at the Chaos Island, Unrivaled and the old man of Azura helped. Even though they failed to save Lu Li, they did him a great favor. Because of the divinity, Lu Li had no time to pay a visit. Now that he was free, he must pay a visit to express his gratitude. Since Gan Lin was here, Lu Li asked, "Gan Lin, do you know the Palace of All Life?" "Of course." Gan Lin shrugged. Remembering the Chaos Island, he asked, "You want to go to the Palace of All Life, right? I haven't asked you about what happened last time. What is the relationship between you and the old man of Azura?" "Nothing." Gan Lin was not an outsider. He explained, "The old man of Azura is trapped in the Demon Mountain. Back then, when I was accidentally trapped inside, I coincidentally released him. It could be said that I saved his life." Gan Lin was taken aback. He did not expect that the old man of Azura would be trapped in the Demon Mountain for hundreds of thousands of years. When the Demon King killed the old demon, she didn't let the old man of Azura out. But the Demon King was a strange person. Nobody knew what she was thinking, just like how she smashed the avatar of Phoenix Queen at the Chaos Island. Who else would have the courage to do that? What was more, Phoenix Queen didn't come looking for trouble. Gan Lin thought about it and said, "The Palace of All Life is far away. It will take a long time to take teleportation formations, and it is not safe. After all, teleportation will be too obvious a target. You should open the space gate." Lu Li knew that opening the space gate was fast and safe, but he didn't know how to do it. He couldn't ask the Axe Demon for this. "Leave it to me." Gan Lin patted Lu Li's shoulder and said, "In 3 days, come to the Asmodean city. I will ask my uncles to get ready. The Palace of All Life is far away. It will be troublesome to open the space gate." Thank you. Lu Li nodded. Then, he added, are you familiar with the Palace of Heaven music? Ask them to buy me some elixirs to strengthen my body. If they have the best elixirs, I will trade with them. Lu Li had some elixirs. It was pointless to keep them. He might as well trade them for elixirs to strengthen his body. Although the path of the supreme divine body was difficult, it was a path that was very suitable for him. No matter how far he could go, Lu Li still wanted to try his best. All right. Gan Lin walked out. Lu Li asked Patriarch Shun to send him off while Lu Li cultivated to consume the divine quintessence. 2 days later, Lu Li stopped cultivating. He chatted with Lu Ran Huang, Lu Zhengyang, and Patriarch of Law Enforcement for a while. Then he spent the afternoon with Jiang Qiling by Qiu Xue and Qi Shi'er. Afterward, he took the teleportation formation to the Asmodean city. Lu Li was taken to the castle of the Gan family by a team leader. Axe Demon was cultivating and did not receive Lu Li. But Lu Li met Gan Lin's father. Generations of the Gan family were similar. They were all smiling and friendly. Lu Li sensed that Gan Lin's father was also at the peak of the third tribulation. He was shocked. The sons and grandsons of tigers from family of generals. Gan Lin came in after Lu Li chatted with Gan Lin's father. He told Lu Li that the portal was ready. This time, it was not only Lu Li, but also Gan Lin. Since Azura was related to Lu Li, the Gan family naturally wanted to make friends. After all, Azura was a warrior at the fourth tribulation. Many years ago, Axe Demon had reached the peak of the third tribulation, but never made the final step. There were many warriors at the peak of the third tribulation at the second heaven. For example, Yin Fengming. That being said, few could reach the fourth tribulation. Once they made the first step, they could never make it in their entire lives. Since Gan Lin was going, there must be an extravagance. There were 2 warriors at the third tribulation. The Gan family must have prepared a lot of gifts. Lu Li walked into a castle. There were 5 old warriors at the third tribulation, all of them at the third tribulation. The 5 opened up a huge portal. Lu Li and Gan Lin stepped in with the other 2 warriors and disappeared into the portal. Lu Li did not know how long he had been teleporting until he saw a glimmer of light. Finally, he knew he had arrived. He felt dizzy. His soul had grown up, but it was not strong enough. Gan Lin was fine. He grew up on pellets, so his soul was not as strong as Lu Li's. Lu Li closed his eyes to rest for a while. He saw a team of warriors flying over. Who are you? Why are you trespassing on the island of life? A team leader stared at Lu Li and Gan Lin with alertness. He was confused. He found Lu Li familiar, so he spoke in a polite tone. I am Lu Li, and this is Gan Lin, the grandson of Axe Demon. Lu Li calmed himself down and said, I have come to visit you because I want to meet you, Lord Azura. Lu Li, grandson of Axe Demon? The team leader repeated. Then his expressions changed. He got down on one knee and said, Greetings, young Master Lu, young Master Gan. The team leader didn't go to the battle at the Island of Chaos, but it didn't mean that he didn't know what had happened. What a joke. His old ancestor didn't care about his own life and personally went to rescue this young master. How could he be negligent? The team leader flew Lu Li and Gan Lin into the city and sent someone to report at the same time. He brought the 2 of them to the front of a huge manor, where a dozen old men had been waiting for a long time. Gan Lin took a look and was surprised. Li Xiaoyao had come out to greet them in person. This was the master of the Palace of All Life. Not even Axe Demon would receive this kind of treatment. The best they could do was to greet them outside the hall. Now, he had come out to greet them. Gan Lin knew very well that it was not because of him, so he stepped back and let Lu Li stand in front of him. Li Xiaoyao said with a smile, Young Master Lu, you have come from afar, and I cannot greet you at once. Please forgive me. Young Master Gan, welcome to the Island of All Life. Since Li Xiaoyao was giving him face, and he was the descendant of Azura, Lu Li understood the courtesy. He bowed and said, Lord Li, you are too kind. I, Lu Li, am very grateful. Gan Lin bowed and said, Greetings, Master Li. My grandpa sends his regards. Ha ha ha. Li Xiaoyao walked over, took Lu Li and Gan Lin's hands and said, We are family. No need to stand on ceremony. Let's go in and talk. Outside the manor, many young masters and young ladies were watching from afar. They thought it was some big shot when their family patriarch came out to greet them. Many young masters and young ladies of the top level of the Li family were dumbfounded to see Li Xiaoyao holding their hands. The family patriarch, who was usually solemn and dignified, was holding two young men's hands and walking away with a smile. Could they be young masters from the top families at the third heaven? It's Lu Li and Gan Lin. Soon, they heard the news. The young masters and young ladies were relieved. Lu Li had saved their forefather and was the benefactor of the Li family. Chapter 21:15. After chatting with Li Xiaoyao for half a day and having a meal, Lu Li asked Gan Lin to continue chatting with Li Xiaoyao while he was taken to the mountain at the north of the city. There was a valley at the back of the mountain where the old man of Azura lived. When Lu Li walked in, he noticed that the Xianqi in heaven and earth was rich. There must be some divine runes here. There was nobody inside, not even a servant. There was only an old man dozing off by the pond. Lu Li walked over, and the old man was startled. The old man waved to Lu Li, pointed to a rock, and said, "Have a seat." Having lived for hundreds of thousands of years, the old man of Azura had seen through the prosperity of the world. Usually, old people like to return to their original nature. Lu Li could tell that old people liked to live in seclusion and didn't like crowded places. Lu Li bowed to the old man of Azura and sat on the side. The old man of Azura had his eyes closed, so Lu Li didn't want to talk. He just stared at the lake and enjoyed the tranquility of the valley. Many old people think that it is easier to break through by cultivating in peace, abandoning the prosperity of the outside world, and pursuing the true self. As a matter of fact, it turns out that they are wrong. After a while, the old man of Azura began to talk. He didn't even look at Lu Li. Lu Li was surprised. He asked humbly, "Wrong? Do you mean that I need to go out more when I'm old? Get in touch with the outside world? Then why?" The old man of Azura lived in seclusion by himself, and he said it was wrong to live in seclusion. Lu Li was confused. The old man of Azura still didn't open his eyes. He said with a bitter smile, "It is not that I want to live in seclusion, but my seniority is too high. My peers are either dead or gone. Who do you want me to talk to now? Do you want me to disguise myself and live in a small town? I'm living here because I'm being supported." Lu Li burst into laughter. He could feel the loneliness and bitterness of the old man of Azura. He had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Most of his peers were dead, and those that were still alive were being worshipped. He had an illustrious identity, and every move he made was watched. He couldn't be like an average person who could do whatever he wanted. Therefore, he had to fish and take a nap by himself. The juniors treated him with respect. Even some of the elders from the other clans couldn't talk to him because of the difference in seniority and strength. Old Azura didn't want to live in seclusion, but he had no choice but to do so. This was indeed a very sad thing. "So, I'm going to leave." After a while, old Azura said something that shocked Lu Li. The old man said he was leaving. Could it be that he was tired of living and wanted to commit suicide? Or was his lifespan about to run out? "Senior," his ring flashed, and he took out a black tortoise fruit. "This is a gift from Junior to you. One fruit can increase your lifespan by 30,000 years. No need." Old Azura waved his hand and said, "I can still live for a few more years. After breaking through to the fourth tribulation, my lifespan has increased a little. Don't get the wrong idea. Since I've never thought of suicide in the Demon Palace for so many years, I'm not tired of living now. When I said I'm leaving the second heaven." "Oh," Lu Li was excited. He blurted out, "Sir, you want to go to the third heaven?" "Yes. I think I will leave in 3 to 5 days." Old Azura opened his eyes and looked into the sky. "The second heaven is too small. It's too boring here. If I don't break through to the fourth tribulation, I might die of old age here. Now that I can, of course, go up there and see the most prosperous and wonderful place in the world." When old man Azura mentioned the third heaven, Lu Li was interested. He was going to the third heaven as well. Luli asked with curiosity. Sir, I heard that the third heaven is the center of the world. I heard that the ones above the third heaven all collapsed. Is this true? I don't know about the collapse of the heavens. Old Azura frowned and said, but the third heaven is the center of the world. There are countless major clans and families that have existed since ancient times. There are also many dangerous places, relics, and treasures. There are as many powerful warriors as there are clouds in the sky. There are no rules there. It is a world of killing and the graveyard of powerful warriors. There are endless opportunities and endless dangers there. It is the best world, but also the worst world. Luli's blood was boiling. He nodded and said, since you have made up your mind, then I wish you all the best. You may rise to the top of the third heaven and dominate a place. Uh-huh. Old Azura smiled bitterly again and said, dominate a place? You really have the guts to say that. Do you know how many people from the second heaven go to the third heaven? Our place has had hundreds of millions of powerful warriors for millions of years, but only one emperor came out. Luli was confused and asked, many people go to the third heaven? Of course. Old Azura nodded and said, there are so many old farts. If they don't go to the third heaven, there will be as many as the hairs on a cow in every family. Basically, many old farts will go to the third heaven after 100 or 200,000 years. After all, the second heaven is too boring. They will choose to go to the third heaven. Unfortunately, most of them will not have a good life there or will be killed. I see. Luli understood. He used to think that there were too few powerful warriors in the big forces. Now it seemed that many old farts had gone to the third heaven. Powerful warriors could live for a long time. If they didn't go to the third heaven, the number of powerful warriors in every family would accumulate to a horrifying level. It was understandable. Powerful warriors could live for more than 100 or 200,000 years and still not make a breakthrough. The structure of the second heaven could not be changed. There was not much meaning for them to stay there. The third heaven had a vaster world, more opportunities, and more treasures of heaven and earth. Life in the third heaven was indeed more exciting. You haven't mastered the happy steps? Old Azura's words attracted Li's attention. He nodded and said, I feel it is not enough. I can't reach the peak. Yes. Old Azura frowned and thought for a while before he said, nobody can help you with this. Go figure out yourself. If you understand it, then so be it. If not, then you can't. Pay more attention to the fundamental principle of time and space. Integration is the key. Thank you, sir. Luli stood up and bowed. He was about to leave when he remembered something. He couldn't help but ask, Sir, why didn't Phoenix Empress come down to seek revenge? Phoenix Empress? Old Azura raised his eyebrows and put on a gentle smile. The devil of your family is unpredictable. Phoenix Empress will only bring humiliation to herself if she comes down. The second heaven has its own rules. Powerful warriors at the third heaven will be suppressed when they come down. Of course, maybe the devil has a powerful backer at the third heaven. Anyway, Phoenix Empress hasn't come down for a long time. I don't think she will. Well, if you go to the third heaven, be careful. Once Phoenix Empress knows who you are, she will send someone to hunt you down. I will remember. Luli stood up and said goodbye. The old man of Azura didn't try to stop him. After Luli left the valley, the old man of Azura murmured, My friend, work hard on your cultivation. I hope I can still see you in the third heaven while I am still alive. Even the powerful Devil King thinks so highly of you. How far can you go in the future? I am really curious. Chapter 21:16. To leave the All-Life Island, one had to open a space gate. Of course, it was the Palace of All Life that had helped to open the space gate. Moreover, this time the destination was not the Heavenly Demon Island, but the Heavenly Sound Island. Some time ago, Luli asked Gonlin to look for elixirs that could strengthen the body. Gonlin, of course, did not know where to find them. He had to ask the Palace of Heaven Music for help. Just recently, the jade talisman given to him by the Tianyin Palace had shattered. This meant that there was good news coming from there. There was not much spirit and marrow left. Lu Li was in dire need of elixirs to refine his body. Naturally, he was happy to hear that there were elixirs. In any case, the Heavenly Melody Palace was not far from the Heavenly Devil Island. Even if it was far, he could ask the Heavenly Melody Palace to open the domain gate. Gan was quite satisfied with his trip to the Island of All Life. Because of Lu Li, Li Xiaoyao was very polite to Gan. He also expressed his willingness to ally with the Omen Island and work together. The Palace of Life had offended many powerful forces because of what had happened on Chaos Island. In other words, the Palace of Life had offended all the forces that Lu Li had offended. Since that was the case, the All Life Palace had to think about its future development. Being able to get close to the Heavenly Devil Island was naturally a very good way out. The Palace of All Life had always wanted to be close to the Heavenly Devil Island, and Ganlin's visit was exactly what Li Xiaoyao wanted. Naturally, he behaved very politely, and even said that he would personally pay a visit to the Great Demon King after a period of time. After the portal was opened, Lu Li and Gan arrived at the Heavenly Sound Island. The moment Lu Li and Gan showed up, they caught the attention of many people in the city. This time, it was not the steward who came to greet Lu Li, but an elder. Just because the Palace of Heavenly Music did not get involved in the disputes of the Second Heaven did not mean that they did not know how to conduct themselves. Lu Li was in the limelight. He was a man of the moment at the Second Heaven. In the eyes of the Palace of Heaven Music, he was more honorable than the leaders of other forces. Young Master Lu, young Master Gan, this is the fourth elder of our Heavenly Sound Palace, Lu Haiyun, and this is our fifth Miss, Lu Hui. The steward introduced them to Lu Li and Gan. Lu Li and Gan looked at each other and smiled. Not only did the Heavenly Music Palace send an elder, but they also sent a direct descendant. They really valued the two of them very much. Clearly, Lu Hui was different from the usual delicate young ladies. She must have been involved in the management of the auction house for many years. She was capable and experienced. After Lu Haiyun greeted Lu Li and the others, she saluted and said, "Young Master Lu, young Master Gan, nice to meet you. It is my great honor to be able to meet you two famous heroes." Lu Hui was very beautiful, but she did not look like a flower vase. Every frown and smile was very appropriate, making people feel that she was passionate, but not flattering. The distance between them was the best at stirring a man's heart, especially the faint ripples of light in her eyes that could move a man's heart. Lu Li had just married two beautiful concubines. Jiang Qiling and the others felt uncomfortable to some extent. Naturally, they didn't dare to flirt with other girls. Therefore, they didn't look at Lu Hui for long. They just said a few polite words to her, but Gan showed great enthusiasm. The Heavenly Music Palace had always been neutral, only doing business and not competing for hegemony. For millions of years, the Heavenly Music Palace had existed. How much wealth had it accumulated over the years? If he could abduct a direct descendant of the Heavenly Sound Palace, Axe Demon would probably be grinning from ear to ear. The most important thing was that Gan was attracted to Lu Hui. A girl like her, who was both beautiful inside and intelligent outside, was hard to come by. Lu Hui noticed that Lu Li was chatting with Lu Haiyun after a short while. She was disappointed. She had a chat with Gan from time to time. Gan noticed that Lu Hui would look at Lu Li every now and then. He was disappointed as well. How come all the good girls liked Lu Li the pig? Gan looked at Lu Li with indignation. Lu Li sensed it and rolled his eyes innocently. He must teach Gan how to flirt with girls when there was a chance. Axe Demon was the most powerful warrior under the Asmodean King's command. He was on the Asmodean King's side. Lu Li was an outsider. The Asmodean King had no sons, and Gan was the most powerful young master of the Omen Island. Gan didn't know how to use this identity. How could he blame Lu Li when he couldn't flirt with girls? Lu Li naturally felt wronged. After chatting with Lu Haiyun for a bit, Lu Li made things clear. There was indeed a batch of elixirs for body refinement, but they were auctioned. Therefore, it would be difficult for Lu Li to negotiate in private and buy them directly. He had to do it at the auction house. There were two kinds of elixirs. One was available in large quantities, called liquid of earth dragons. This kind of elixir for body refinement was common. Many big families would choose this kind of elixir for their young disciples. There are more than a dozen cubes of this elixir. The price shouldn't be too high. Tens of millions of divine origin gold should be enough. The other kind was more expensive. It was a kind of elixir similar to the essence called fairy grass. There were only 3 of them, but they would be worth at least 100 million divine origin gold. Of course, fairy grass was very effective. 3 fairy grass could be as effective as half a cube of essence. It was a rare elixir. Luli had some divine origin gold with him, but not much. He didn't have more than 100 million divine origin gold. He thought about it and asked Gonlin, how much divine origin gold do you have? Lend me some. Luli had elixirs, but he didn't want to sell them. He would rather sell them to the Gon family. Luli thought it was worthwhile even if it was cheaper. If the elixirs were bought by an enemy force, the enemy would be strengthened. Gonlin smiled and said, I don't have that much divine origin gold with me, but I think I can borrow 200 million divine origin gold from the Lu family with this token. I will deliver it in a month. You can count it as interest. Lu Haiyun and Lu Hui took a look. They were alarmed when they saw the word Asmodean on the token. The words on the token seemed to have an invisible magic power that sucked in their souls. Asmodean token. Clearly, the token did not belong to the axe demon, but the Asmodean lord. They stood up and bowed to the token. With this token, the Palace of Heaven Sounds would have to lend them 1 billion divine origin gold, let alone 200 million. That was the symbol of the Asmodean lord's majesty. She was a master at the second heaven. How could some divine origin gold compare to her? Lu Hui smiled gently. She glanced over to Lu Li and Gonlin and said, Young masters, you're treating me like outsiders. Your reputation alone is worth 1 billion divine origin gold, let alone this token. Don't mention the interest again. Otherwise, Huier will be angry. Thank you, Lady Hui. Gonlin was overjoyed. But he knew very well that Lu Li's dignity was worth a lot of divine origin gold, but Gonlin's wasn't. The auction will start tomorrow night. Tonight, I will host a banquet at the Intoxicated Fragrance Pavilion. Young masters, please do me the honor. Many young masters and young ladies from prestigious families are attending the auction. If those young ladies hear that you are here, they will be overjoyed. Lu Hui invited him with great hospitality. Gonlin's eyes glowed when he heard that many young ladies from prestigious families were coming. Lu Li wanted to say no, but seeing how interested Gonlin was, he nodded and said, Thank you, Lady Lu, for your hospitality. Ha. Lu Hui smiled mysteriously and said, Tonight, the young masters and young ladies from the most prestigious families are here. I don't think young Master Lu will be disappointed. The most prestigious families? Gonlin raised his eyebrows and asked, Which family are they from? Chapter 21:17. He was too embarrassed to ask. Now that they were back in the castle, Lu Li couldn't help but ask, Which family is that? Gonlin and Lu Hui were both disciples from top noble families. It must not be an average family for them to care so much about. But Lu Li couldn't think of any other family in the second heaven that could make them pay so much attention. Gonlin explained, The St. Origin Hall ranks second among the 36 forces. Lu Li understood at once. The St. Origin Hall ranked second, so it must be a disciple of the number 1 force. Lu Li didn't know much about the second heaven forces. He asked with curiosity, Which one is the number 1 force? What's so special about it? The Zhangsun family. Gonlin explained, The number 1 force is not a force, but a family. A family that has been at the top of the 36 forces for 1,000,000 years. Usually, the family keeps a low profile, but the warriors they send out are all powerful warriors. If they had sent someone to the Chaos Island, Yun Kaiwei and Tang Ning wouldn't have had a chance. Number 1 for 1,000,000 years? Lu Li was shocked. There was no number 1 in literature and no number 2 in martial arts. It was easy to tell whether a warrior was powerful or not. But it would be difficult for a force to be the number 1 because the other forces might not be convinced. It was difficult for a family to be the number one of the 36 forces. To be number one for a million years was even more difficult. There was no everlasting dynasty and no family that could prosper all the time. This was an old saying in the heaven-reverse universe. It was difficult for any dynasty or family to prosper all the time. When a family reached a certain level, it would be easy for it to decline. For a million years, it was impossible for a family not to make mistakes all the time. Sometimes, a mistake could lead the family to destruction. However, the Zhongsun family could prosper all the time. It had been number one for a million years, which surprised Lu Li. Didn't Lord Lu say that he was never the number one? Gan Lin added, it was because of that old man of the Zhongsun family. Before Lord Lu made a move, that old man of the Zhongsun family had been recognized as the number one warrior of the second heaven. More than 100,000 years ago, that old man killed 16 warriors at the peak of the third tribulation all by himself. If it were not for the fact that the devil of the Chaos Island killed Yin Shueishue, nobody would believe that she could defeat that old man of the Zhongsun family. There is one more thing. Gan Lin thought for a moment and suddenly transmitted his voice. It is said that the Zhongsun clan is a branch of a great clan because there is also a Zhongsun clan in the third heaven. In the third heaven, the Zhongsun clan is the overlord of a region. It is said that the second stratum Zhongsun family's descendants often appear in the third stratum Zhongsun family's clans. In addition to the Zhongsun family's absolute strength, the Zhongsun family has always been number one in the past million years. No one can shake their position. How about now? Lu Li was not convinced. Since the master of the second heaven was taken away by the Demon King, the most powerful force should be the Omen Island. It's hard to say now, Gan Lin said awkwardly. Although my lord is the absolute number one, we don't belong to one of the 36 major powers, so we can't compare. In addition, the great Demon King clearly didn't want to contend for hegemony, so no one compared Heavenly Demon Island to Zhongsun family. However, if we were to talk about overall strength, Heavenly Demon Island is definitely weaker than Zhongsun family. And even Gan Lin said so. Lu Li could imagine how powerful the Zhongsun family was. He frowned and thought for a moment, then asked a very important question. What about the other forces? The other forces have nothing to do with the third heaven? Or I can put it this way. The forces at the third heaven don't secretly support some forces at the second heaven. The divinity was dominated by 5 forces. The 4 supreme forces and the land of Yuyin all had a force at the second heaven standing behind them. Lu Li didn't believe that the forces at the third heaven didn't think about supporting some forces at the second heaven, secretly influencing the situation at the second heaven. I don't think so. Even if they did, they wouldn't give too much support. Gan Lin shook his head and said, or you can put it this way. The forces at the third heaven don't care about the second heaven at all. You can even say they don't care. It is said that the third heaven is the center of the world. You can have anything you want there. The second heaven is no different from the countryside to the third heaven. Do you think the families in the cities will care about the remote mountains? Lu Li nodded. He understood now. He was curious about the young masters and young ladies of the Zhongsun family. Gan Lin just said that the people of the Zhongsun family would not come out easily. Those that came out were all powerful warriors. Lu Li wanted to see how powerful the 2 from the Zhongsun family were. Were they all at the peak of the third tribulation? At dusk, a patriarch of the Lu family came to invite Lu Li and Gan Lin in person. Lu Li and Gan Lin washed up and went to a luxurious tavern in the city. The entire tavern was booked. There were guards at the door. Nobody could get in without an invitation. Lu Li and the others went to the tavern. It was more luxurious than the average castles. The banquet was held on the rooftop. The breeze was gentle, the candles were swaying, and the aroma of wine permeated the air. It was a nice place for a banquet. The rooftop was filled with people. Lu Li glanced over and was surprised to see some familiar faces. Lady Qin Zhanxiong and Lady Mu were here. He also saw some familiar faces. They were all participants of the contest of geniuses at the Chaos Island. Ha ha ha. Qin Zhan was surprised to see Lu Li at first. Then he was overjoyed and stood up. But he seemed to have thought of something. He didn't greet Lu Li. Qin Zhan, what is with your expression? Lu Li smiled and walked over to Qin Zhan. He said with a smile, we haven't seen each other for several months. Don't you recognize me as your brother? Brother. Many young masters and young ladies were envious of Lu Li. Qin Zhan was excited. He walked out in strides, gave Lu Li a bear hug, and said, good brother. At the Chaos Island, when Lu Li was besieged by the six forces, Qin Zhan didn't dare to say anything. Given Lu Li's current identity and status, Qin Zhan didn't dare to get along with Lu Li like before. Therefore, he didn't dare to greet Lu Li. Lu Li's brother almost made Qin Zhan burst into tears. Lu Li was still the same Lu Li. His identity and status had changed, but he didn't. If Lu Li and Qin Zhan were friends before, Lu Li would be climbing up the social ladder. Now that Qin Zhan and Lu Li were friends, it could be said that they were climbing up the social ladder. The Qin family was not powerful, and Qin Zhan was not the best young master at the second heaven. Lu Li, on the other hand, was at the peak of the young generation at the second heaven. Nice to meet you, Lady Qiong, Lady Mu. Lu Li and Lady Qiong and Lady Mu took the initiative to greet each other. Lady Qiong looked at Lu Li with mixed feelings. Previously, she tried to persuade Qin Zhan not to hang out with Lu Li. Only now did she realize how wrong she was. Lady Mu, on the other hand, didn't have so many concerns. She said clearly, young Master Lu, you owe me one. Lu Li couldn't help but laugh. He nodded and said, Lady Mu, I'm a man of my words. Whenever you need help, you can come to me at any time. A group of young masters and young ladies came over to chat with Lu Li and Ganlin. Lu Li responded casually and sat down on the jade table next to Qin Zhan. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.